Chapter 772. It's one thing for him to look down on me, since I don't really care about him. But how could he call me Choi Yun so intimately? Yang Cheng's fist clenched subconsciously. Choi Yun only realized what Yang Cheng was talking about when she heard the man's voice. Seeing the displeasure on Yang Cheng's face, she held back her laughter and gestured to the man. Let me introduce you to. This is Officer Wei Tingo, who is assigned by the Interpol headquarters in Lyon, France. He's in charge of investigating a major case. He's also my senior in the police academy and the youngest detective Hua Xia to join the Interpol team in recent years. Interpol? Yang Cheng's brows loosened. So he wasn't here to pick up girls? That was acceptable, but this guy just didn't seem to be in a good mood. Wei Tingo didn't even look at Yang Cheng as he pressed on. Yin'er, you haven't introduced me to this beautiful lady. She doesn't seem to be from the academy, does she? Of course not. Choi Yun was still rather friendly with this senior. This is Lin Ruoshi, a sister I've known since kindergarten. But I haven't seen her around much as I've been busy with work these past few years. Oh, this is Yang Cheng, Ruoshi's husband. Wei Tingo's eyes flashed with surprise as he sized up Yang Cheng. Ah, so you're Yin, or his close friends. My name is Wei Tingo. It's my pleasure to meet you too. Due to my years in France and around the world, I don't know many people in the country, so please don't take it to heart. Wei Tingo's good looks and mannerisms won the admiration of many of the police officers, especially the female officers. This also made Wei Tingo stand with his back ramrod straight. From start to finish, Lin Ruoshi didn't bother with Wei Tingo. She merely greeted Choi Yun before sitting down quietly. This was her usual attitude towards strangers. It was even more impossible for Yang Cheng to have any good feelings towards him. He just gave Choi Yun a meaningful look, then curled his lips and sat down. Choi Yun sensed Yang Cheng's jealousy and was quite pleased with herself. After all, it was a kind of care for her. The atmosphere was tense. Choi Yun took the initiative to break the deadlock. She turned to her subordinates and asked, "What's the situation? What case is it?" The surrounding police officers were stunned by the sudden change in the situation. When they realized that these two people were really the chief's friends, their attitude immediately changed. The policewoman nervously recounted the details of the case. She was not far from the truth. As for the three hooligans who came to try their luck to call the police, they were all listless and speechless. After listening to her subordinate's narration, Kai Yin roughly understood the situation. She walked over to the three hoodlums and said, "Do you guys know that there's a surveillance camera at the intersection? As long as I pull out the footage, I'll know who's responsible for this matter. Are you sure you want to continue suing Miss Lin and Mr. Yang?" The short and fat thug's face paled. If they watched the footage, everyone would know who hit who. Wouldn't that be the end of it? Chief, why don't we just forget it? The short and fat man, Shan, smiled as he retreated. Choi Yun said, "As you can see, I know the two of them, but I don't want you to think that I'm playing favoritism. If you think that your interests have been violated, speak up on the spot. Let's see if there's a civil settlement. If there's really a problem with them, I won't take sides in front of so many people." No, it's really fine." The short man broke out in a cold sweat. He was afraid to watch the footage. "It's just a misunderstanding. We were hot-headed." At this time, Lin Ruoshi gave Yang Cheng a look. "Return the extra money to them." Yang Cheng was reluctant, but he still fished out the extra 400 yuan and placed it in front of the short man. "Here you go. We're even now." The three men were still fearful of Yang Chen's strength. After taking the money, without saying a word, they walked out of the police station while laughing, causing the policemen to roll their eyes. The farce was finally resolved, but the situation didn't change for the better. Yang Cheng noticed that Wei Tingo's eyes kept wandering to Lin Ruoshi. Although it was subtle, it made him feel uncomfortable. Should I secretly castrate this kid at night? Yang Cheng thought wickedly. Seeing that the matter was resolved, Lin Ruoshi stood up gracefully. She smiled at Choi Yun. "There's no surveillance at the intersection. I've been paying attention when the incident happened. You were just scaring them, weren't you?" Choi Yun batted her eyelashes playfully. "General Lin is very perceptive. No matter what, I'm still the bureau chief. I have to be smart." The two women smiled at each other. It was as if the tension between them had been resolved. Of course, it was only on the surface. But when Lin Ruashi saw Yang Chung, her expression turned sour. Are you satisfied now? Why did you have to rob others for no reason? You've wasted so much time here. Jinxiu's exams are almost over. Jinxiu, Choi Yun, snapped out her days. That's right. Today is the college entrance exam. Jinxiu is taking part in it. Right? Are you guys going to fetch Jinxiu? I'll go with her. I haven't seen her in a while. I want to give her a push. Wei Tingo, who had been eavesdropping, suddenly stepped forward. It's lunchtime. Even though it's the first time we've met, why don't we have lunch together? Choi Yun hesitated at Wei Tingo's suggestion. But Yang Chung didn't hesitate. Hey, I'm not close to you, and I don't intend to be. Why are you going? Wei Tingo smiled. I didn't say that I'm going because I'm close to you, Mr. Yang. I'm here because my junior, Yen is here to receive me. Besides, I don't know anyone else in Zhonghai. Naturally, I'll follow her wherever she goes. Yang Chung had to take care of Choi Yun's reputation. He didn't want to beat this pretty boy up. But looking at his pretentious face, Yang Chung couldn't help but feel uneasy. He's just a little good-looking. Who knows? Maybe there's a worm down there, Yang Chung thought. Suddenly, Lin Ruashi's voice came from his side. Yonyan, if you're going to meet Jinxiu, why don't you drive with your senior? I'll go with my husband. Let's not have lunch together. I'm not used to hanging out with strangers. With that, Lin Ruashi glanced at Yang Chung. Let's go. Yang Chung stammered. He looked at Choi Yun, then at Lin Ruashi. What the hell was going on? How could he allow Choi Yun to be with Wei Tingo? Lin Ruashi's brows furrowed in anger. Why? You don't want to go with me? Then I'll drive myself. You can go with Yonyan. Yang Chung shuddered. He suddenly realized that he was playing with fire. No matter how unhappy he was with a man getting close to Choi Yun, he shouldn't be acting jealous in front of Lin Ruashi. What's more, this guy was obviously lusting after Lin Ruashi. It didn't matter if the front line was tight, but the harem couldn't fall into chaos. Yang Chung pulled himself together and quickly grabbed Lin Ruashi's hand with a smile. How could that be? Darling, I really don't want to leave you for even a second. Let's go pick up Jinxiu. Lin Ruashi glared at him. Her meaning was clear. At least you know what's good for you. The other police officers saw how quickly Yang Cheng's expression changed. They all whispered to each other, mocking him for being a henpecked husband. Yang Chung was also exhausted. What did others know? If they were as easygoing as Chiang Wei, he wouldn't have to go through so much trouble. He had just returned to the country, and there were already so many things waiting for him. Although it was wonderful to have all kinds of women by his side, he had to pay a painful price. Sure enough, being an emperor in ancient times was comfortable. At least everything went according to plan. Choi Yun saw it all. Although her heart was sour, she couldn't let it show. She led Wei Tingo out. Wei Tingo maintained his carefree smile on his face, but in his eyes, there was a hint of suspicion and a cold glint. The four of them took two separate cars. When they arrived at the school, the first language exam had just ended. The students were coming out one after another to meet up with their parents. It was a sea of people. Fortunately, they had agreed to wait at a remote place, so they didn't have to squeeze in. Jinxiu walked out from the crowd. Jinxiu suddenly saw Choi Yun in her police uniform. She waved excitedly and ran over. Chief Kai, why are you here? Choi Yun pretended to be angry. Why are you calling me chief? Did you do something wrong again? Jinxiu pouted and called out shyly, Sister Kai. Only then did Choi Yun smile. She reached out to touch Jinxiu's nose. How was the exam? Jinxiu giggled. It was all right. My language isn't too bad to begin with. Look at how smug you are. You can celebrate after the exam. Choi Yun rebuked. Wei Tingo wasn't interested at first. He had followed Choi Yun here to have lunch with Choi Yun. But when he saw the youthful and charming Jinxiu, his eyes lit up. Yen is this little sister your relative? Choi Yun shook her head with a smile. She used to be a naughty girl. I caught her a few times, but she's turned over a new leaf. That's why I'm here to take a look. Jinxiu looked at Wei Tingo curiously. Although he was handsome, he wasn't that attractive to Jinxiu. She didn't pay any attention to strangers. Instead, she held on to Lin Ruashi's hand and giggled. Sister Ruashi, let's go eat. I'm starving. Lin Ruashi was delighted. Looks like you did well. What do you want to eat? I'll satisfy you. Jinxiu wasn't going to be overly courteous about these things because she knew that it would only make Lin Ruashi unhappy. She smiled sweetly and said, I want to eat Korean barbecue, okay? Although she grew up in Huaxia, Jinxiu still had a taste for Korean food due to her mother's passing. Lin Ruashi nodded with a smile. She turned to Yang Cheng. You drive. Use the GPS to search for a nearby barbecue restaurant. Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. Sigh. This girl is more pampered than me. She eats whatever she wants without asking for my opinion. Uncle, if Sister Lin doesn't pamper you, then let Mom and I pamper you. A playful voice sounded from behind Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng was stunned. He didn't even notice. Turning around, he saw Tang Tang in a jade-green floral dress and orange sandals. Behind Tang Tang, there was a mature floral dress and a pair of big sunglasses, but it couldn't hide her graceful beauty. Who else could it be other than Tang Wan? Chapter 773. Since Tang Tang was also participating in the college entrance exam, it wasn't a surprise to bump into the mother and daughter pair. Wei Tingo, who was standing beside Choi Yun, stared blankly at the two beauties. He couldn't understand why this man was always surrounded by beauties of all shapes and sizes. Lin Ruashi's face was calm and collected when she saw Tang Wan again. On the other hand, Choi Yun had a complicated look on her face. After all, she was aware of the relationship between Yang Cheng and Tang Wan. Since we've bumped into each other, let's have lunch together, Tang Wan said straightforwardly. Lin Ruashi furrowed her brows. Had it only been Tang Wan, she wouldn't have agreed to it. Of all the women around Yang Cheng, the one she was most dissatisfied with was Tang Wan, who had an awkward seniority. But Tang Tang was also present. It was almost certain that she would marry Yuan Yi in the future. That would make her sister-in-law. She couldn't afford to make things too awkward, so she nodded in agreement. Wei Tingo suddenly stepped forward and announced, Looks like there's quite a number of people here. Why don't you and I join in as well? As he spoke, he kept glancing at Tang Wan, as though trying to get a better look at her. But Tang Wan wasn't going to buy it. She frowned. Who are you? We're friends, so what does it have to do with you? Wei Tingo was taken aback. He didn't expect Tang Wan to reject him so straightforwardly. She didn't even bother to give him any special treatment. But Wei Tingo didn't reveal any awkwardness. He smiled modestly. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Wei Tingo, an Interpol officer. I'm also Choi Yun Senior at the police academy. I've returned from France to Zhonghai to look for my junior, Choi Yun, to investigate this case together. Could it be that I'm hoping to make some new friends after returning to China? I don't want to offend, madam. Wei Tingo. Tang Wan thought for a moment. You're from the Wei family of Yinjing? Wei Tingo was a little taken aback, but he immediately puffed out his chest with pride. I didn't expect such a beautiful lady to know of my origins. I've been out of the country most of the time, so I don't know many people. That's right, it's the Wei family. Wei Buchuan is my father. Tang Wan smiled and said, So you are the son of Minister Wei of the Ministry of Public Security. Sorry for not recognizing you. Wei Tingo waved his hand proudly. You flatter me. I'm nothing compared to my father. Hearing this conversation, Yang Cheng could not help but mutter, So dad is a minister. No wonder he's so arrogant. Wei Tingo frowned. Mr. Yang, I heard what you said. Wei Tingo, have always relied on my own hard work to become one of the 3 Interpol officers in all of Huaxia. I didn't rely on nepotism. Hearing this, Tang Wan moved closer to her daughter, Tang Tang, and whispered something into her ear, causing Tang Tang to burst into laughter. Wei Tingo was puzzled. What was going on? Lin Ruashi did not care about what was going on. She stepped forward and tugged on Yang Cheng's arm. Don't just stand there and waste time. Jinxiu, it's more important for you to eat and get some rest. You still have a math test in the afternoon. Oh yes, Mom. Yang Cheng did not dare to delay any longer. He immediately ran to his car and searched for a Korean restaurant with his GPS. Tang Tang giggled. Sister Lin, you really know how to tame your husband. Uncle is so obedient. Lin Ruashi smiled faintly. Are you guys taking our car or driving your own? I'll drive Tang Tang, Tang Wan replied. She then turned to Choi Yun. The second daughter of the Kai family is here as well. Do you want to tag along? Kai Yin naturally wanted to go, but when she saw the ugly expression on Wei Tingo's face, she could only give a regretful smile. Next time, I'll go with you. Tang Wan ignored Wei Tingo and nodded to Choi Yun with a smile. She held her daughter's hand and walked past them to where the Land Rover was parked. Not long after, Yang Chung found a decent Korean barbecue restaurant and set off. Tang Wan followed closely behind in the Land Rover, and the two cars soon disappeared from sight. This series of changes, like a movie, passed in an instant. Wei Tingo thought that everyone would try to curry favor with Tang Wan after she recognized him. He never imagined that they would ignore him and even mock him. Standing on the spot, Wei Tingo's face darkened as he snorted. Yenair, where did your sister and that woman come from? How could they be so rude? Kai Yin thought to herself. I've already exposed myself, saying that there's no nepotism involved. It would be strange if I don't laugh at you. Moreover, it seems like you're the one who asked to have a meal with me first. I'm not that familiar with you. But of course, I can't say it out loud. After all, you're my senior, and there's a paternal relationship. Senior, that sister of mine, is the current CEO of Yulei International. As for that sister, she called Tang Wan, CEO of Yulei International. Wei Tingo was taken aback, but quickly recovered. In this society, people think too highly of themselves when they have money. A businesswoman isn't that big of a deal. On the other hand, that Tang Wan sounds familiar. Wei Tingo had been out of the country most of the time, so he couldn't quite put his finger on it. Choi Yun grumbled to herself. Interpol for 100 years wouldn't even make as much as she does in a year. What's there to be proud of? She calmly explained. It's not like I'm too concerned about your background. Her surname is Tang. Senior, don't you get it? Wei Tingo's jaw dropped, his eyes flashing with panic. She's from the Tang family? Choi Yun nodded, her heart filled with disdain. Even the weakest of the four great families, the Tang family, only had this much courage. If you were to find out that the guy you've been looking down on is from the Yang family, wouldn't your legs turn to jelly? However, Choi Yun wasn't about to speak up for Yang Chung. Smiling, she said, Senior, work is more important. Let's just grab a bite and get back to work. Wei Tingo's forehead broke out in a cold sweat. He was no longer in the mood to care about women. With a stiff smile, he said, all right, I'll listen to you. On the other hand, 10 minutes later, Yang Chun and the others arrived at a high-class Korean restaurant. They found a table by the window and sat facing each other. Outside the window, it was raining again. The sound of raindrops splashing against the eaves made the diners in the restaurant feel particularly amused. As candidates, Jinxiu and Tang Tang were the main characters in charge of ordering food. Tang Tang was a glutton to begin with, and Jinxiu was well-versed in Korean cuisine. It didn't take long for a large pile of ingredients to be brought over for everyone to barbecue. Yang Chung was still thinking about Choi Yun having a meal with Wei Tingo. He couldn't let it show, so he made up his mind to call Choi Yun to see if that bastard had done anything inappropriate. As for Wei Tingo's ashen face, it naturally became the butt of jokes between Tang Tang and Jinxiu. Tang Wan could tell that Yang Chung wasn't paying attention. Young Master Yang, you seem to be thinking about someone else? Yang Chung nearly dropped the piece of barbecued meat in his chopsticks. Sensing Lin Ruoshi's icy glare, he quickly put on a serious expression and asked, I was just thinking about that Wei Tingo's House of Wei. Does he have a strong backing? Tang Wan burst into laughter. So you're daydreaming about this kind of thing. You didn't come out. I thought you were thinking about Miss Kai. Yang Chung secretly shot a look at Tang Wan. Lin Ruoshi is standing right beside me. Are you trying to get me killed? There were already many things that happened today that would cause Lin Ruoshi to start a cold war with him. He couldn't afford to add insult to injury. Tang Wan pretended not to notice as she continued, Actually, it's not that big of a deal. House Wei is only a second-rate family in Beijing, but because Wei Buchuan is the current head of the Public Security Bureau, and they have two direct relatives in the Public Security Bureau, they can be considered a rising family with real power. But compared to a young master like you from the Yang family, it's still like heaven and earth. Yang Chung pretended to cough a few times. I have no intention of comparing myself to that kind of person. Let's eat meat. Let's not talk about him. As he spoke, Yang Cheng laughed and snatched a large piece of barbecued meat from under Tong Tong's chopsticks, placing it on Lin Ruoshi's plate. Honey, don't just pick up meat for Jinxiu. You have to eat too. More meat is more beautiful to touch. Oh no, look at. Tang Tang saw that he was unhappy and pouted. Uncle, you're snatching my meat to please me. Shameless. It's not like you're the one paying. What are you yelling about? Roast another piece yourself. Yang Cheng threatened. Tang Tang bared her teeth and elbowed her mother. Mom, Uncle is too biased. He's only picking up meat for Sister Lin. Why not you? Tang Wan's gentle face blushed. Unlucky child. What nonsense are you talking about? They're a loving couple. We're just watching. TSK. You don't mean what you say. Tang Tang spat. Yang Cheng's face was embarrassed. He felt a little sorry for Tang Wan, but if he really picked up meat for Tang Wan, he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences when he got home. He could only pretend to be deaf and mute. Lin Ruoshi, who had always been unfazed by such matters, grilled the meat in silence. From time to time, she would put some food into Zhenxiu's bowl with her chopsticks, as if she was taking care of her own child instead of her younger sister. She didn't participate in the bickering, but the layer of ice between her brows that wouldn't melt made Yang Chen's heart numb. First, he went to the police station, then he got jealous because of Choi Yun, and then he bumped into Tang Wan who wanted to eat together. All of these were actually nothing, but Lin Ruoshi was involved. Was he really so unlucky in Huaxia? Yang Cheng felt that even the delicious meat in his mouth was bitter. Fortunately, there were two young girls at the dining table, Zhenxiu and Tang Tang. They were about the same age, and they were both mischievous and little devils. Although they weren't familiar with each other, they immediately chatted with each other, so the atmosphere wasn't too tense. Just as they were about to finish eating, Lin Ruoshi's phone on the table vibrated. The woman glanced at it and immediately picked it up. She asked in a gentle tone, Mom, what's up? The person who called was Guo Shuihua, who was at home. Tang Wan, who was sitting opposite her, sighed faintly. She knew that no matter how much weight she occupied in Yang Cheng's heart, she would never have the chance to call Guo Shuihua mom like Lin Ruoshi did. Regardless of age or status, she couldn't be a daughter-in-law. It meant that as a woman, she would always have regrets. Therefore, when she saw Lin Ruoshi talking to Guo Shuihua on the phone, there was a bit of envy in the woman's eyes. Lin Ruoshi said a few words to Guo Shuihua on the phone, and then passed the phone to Yang Cheng with an indifferent expression. Mom wants to talk to you. Chapter 774. Yang Cheng took over the phone, puzzled. Mom, what's the matter that you have to tell me now? Guo Shuihua sounded a little depressed over the phone, as though she was trying hard to control her anger. Tell me, what did you do to that child, Qianni? Yang Cheng frowned. Qianni? What's wrong with her? He was puzzled. Wasn't she fine this morning? She was going to work with Ma Guifeng. You're asking me what's wrong. If I hadn't gone out to buy groceries, I wouldn't have known. That child has been standing in front of our house all morning, drenched in the rain all morning. I asked her why, and she said she wanted to wait for you to tell her in front of her. What did you do to make that child stand in the rain like she lost her soul? Guo Shuihua was heartbroken and shouted angrily. Yang Cheng's hand that was holding the phone trembled uncontrollably. His expression changed from confusion to coldness in an instant. His pupils contracted, and he exhaled deeply before saying, I understand. Although I don't know what exactly happened, I'll go back immediately. After that, Yang Cheng hung up the phone silently and handed it back to Lin Ruoshi. I'll drive back first. You and Jinxiu can call someone to pick you up later, or you can take Tang Wan's car. Seeing that Yang Cheng was about to leave, Lin Ruoshi got up and grabbed Yang Cheng's arm. She looked at the man coldly and asked, What's the matter? At this moment, Yang Cheng's mind was filled with the image of Mo Qianni standing alone in the rain. His heart was burning with anxiety, and his voice was trembling. He was in no mood to explain. I'm going to see Qianni. I'll explain to you later. Lin Ruoshi's eyes flashed with anger as she asked coldly, Just because Qianni wants to see you, you're going to abandon me and Jinxiu immediately? His voice instantly rose, causing Tang Wan, Tang Tang, and Jinxiu to look over, especially Jinxiu, whose face was filled with worry. The anger in Yang Cheng's heart soared. He swung his arm and swatted Lin Ruoshi's hand away. You can think whatever you want. I don't have time to talk. Not to mention Lin Ruoshi. Even Tang Wan was stunned by the sudden outburst of anger. Lin Ruoshi watched in a daze as Yang Cheng walked past her and strode out of the restaurant decisively without looking back. It was as if he had crossed a spiritual chasm. It seemed that she could not imagine that the man would be so angry with her in front of so many people in the restaurant and in front of Tang Wan. Seeing that Lin Ruoshi's eyes were red, Jinxiu and Tang Tang were so anxious that they did not know what to say. Tang Wan sighed softly and comforted him. General Lin, he may really have something urgent. Otherwise, he would not treat you like this. It's not like you don't know that he is not a man who loses his temper with women for no reason. The reason why he loses his temper is because there is another woman, Lin Ruoshi said lightly. She felt as if she was standing in a world of ice and snow. She turned to Tang Wan and said, President Tang, please send Jinxiu to the examination room later. I'll leave first. Sister Ruoshi. Jinxiu wanted to say something, but was stopped by Lin Ruoshi. Lin Ruoshi smiled bitterly and touched Jinxiu's smooth hair. Do your best. Sister is fine. I will pick you up from school later. After saying that, Lin Ruoshi picked up her bag and quickly left the restaurant. Seeing Lin Ruoshi's appearance when she left, Tang Wan sighed faintly. It seems that being a mistress has its benefits. At least I don't have to worry about this kind of thing. Outside the restaurant, the white BMW had just reversed out of the parking position. Yang Cheng was about to step on the accelerator when he saw a beautiful figure blocking the front of the car. Under the dusky afternoon sky, the rain was misty. The woman was like an ice blade that pierced straight into the heart. Thorns blocked all the way. Yang Cheng gritted his teeth and took a deep breath. After looking at Lin Ruoshi for a few seconds, he leaned over and opened the door of the front passenger seat. Get in the car. Lin Ruoshi didn't say anything. She didn't panic because of the rain falling on her body. She gently got into the car and closed the door. Yang Cheng didn't say anything. Since Lin Ruoshi wanted to go with him, he would bring her along. He didn't have time to think about whether he should let Lin Ruoshi see anything, because in his mind, there was only the burning image of Mo Chinny waiting for him in the rain. The engine roared, and the car sped towards the direction of home, creating a large splash on the asphalt road that was covered in rain. 10 minutes later, outside the bungalow, lush plants grew through the fancy metal hollowed-out courtyard wall to the sidewalk. Because of the continuous rain, there was the sound of beads falling between the leaves. Because it was raining, this secluded residential area had almost no people or cars passing by. It was especially quiet. Right in the middle of the courtyard, Mo Chinny was still wearing the black uniform that she had worn in the morning. She stood there motionless like a statue. Because it had been raining all morning, the woman's coiled black hair had long been scattered messily, sticking to her cheeks and forehead. Her makeup had also been melted by the rain, especially her eyeshadow, which made the woman look particularly disheveled. Her clothes were soaked and stuck to her body. Even her cotton skirt was dripping water, but Mo Chinny didn't seem to feel anything. Her face didn't show any emotions. Beside Mo Chinny, Guo Xiuhua, who was holding a large umbrella in her hand, had a pained look on her face. She covered her mouth and held back her tears. When she saw Mo Chinny waiting for Yang Cheng in the rain, she wanted to pull her back into the house, but Mo Chinny refused to leave. She insisted on waiting for Yang Cheng to come back. Guo Xiuhua couldn't do anything about the girl's stubbornness. She ran back into the house to make a phone call, but Yang Cheng didn't pick up. She had to call Lin Ruoshi before she could get in touch with Yang Cheng. After angrily telling Yang Cheng to come back, Guo Xiuhua ran out in a panic and took the umbrella to shelter Mo Chinny from the rain. Although she had been soaked in the rain for a long time, it was better to suffer less. Guo Xiuhua's heart was burning as she looked at the gentle woman who used to smile shyly whenever she saw her. Now, she was dejected and exuded a heavy aura of death after being heartbroken. What kind of sin did she commit? Why did such a thing have to happen to her son? It was a feeling that she shouldn't have, but it was hard for her to refuse its dreamy beauty. If it weren't for the fact that Yang Cheng was married, Guo would have wanted Mo Qianyi and Yang Cheng to get married. She didn't care about the girl's ordinary background or family background. Compared with Lin Ruoxi, who was a beautiful and arrogant daughter-in-law, Mo Qianyi was obviously a good daughter-in-law who was easy to be considerate, simple, and gentle. But Guo knew that this was not something she could control. At this time, the rain had stopped, but the silence of the surroundings made it difficult to breathe. In the courtyard not far away, Ma Guifeng had come out. She looked at her daughter in the distance, and her eyes flashed with infinite sorrow. But in the end, she just looked at her daughter from a distance, saying nothing and doing nothing, as if she was waiting for something. Not long after, at a crossroads not far away, a white BMW rushed to the door. With a screech, it came to a stop, leaving a series of brake marks on the road. The door of the driver's seat opened immediately. Yang Cheng got out of the car and strode toward the woman who was soaked in the rain. And Lin Ruoxi, who came back with him, saw the scene in front of the door after getting out of the car, especially when she saw Mo Qianyi, who was soaked in the rain. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a trace of astonishment, and she stood there in a daze, unable to say a word. Mo Qianyi's eyes looked abnormally empty. Her eyes fell on the blue stone on the ground, as if she didn't know that Yang Cheng had appeared beside her. Yang Cheng only saw the woman's expression from the side, and his heart felt a sharp pain. "Qianyi, I'm here. Why are you?" When the words came to his mouth, Yang Cheng felt that his mouth didn't listen to him. His mind was in a mess, and he didn't know what to say. Suddenly, Mo Qianyi raised her head, and her delicate body slowly turned to Yang Cheng. Her eyes were full of rain and tears, and in her red eyes, her clear eyes were like the snow on the peak of the mountain, so bright that it could pierce into one's heart. "Pa!" A crisp sound, in the midst of everyone's absent-minded, suddenly rang out. Mo Qianyi's hand, cold and still trembling, and on the left side of Yang Cheng's face, there was already a palm print. Chapter 775. Yang Cheng could dodge, but he didn't have any intention of dodging. When he realized that the woman was going to slap him, Yang Cheng only noticed the extreme pain in her eyes. Did he make her like this? Although Yang Cheng was confused and didn't quite understand, he knew that the problem must be with him. He only hoped that after Mo Qianyi slapped him hard, the woman would feel better. Whether it was Guo or Ma Guifeng, who was watching from afar, their eyes narrowed at the slap, but they didn't make sound. Especially Guo. Seeing her son being hit, she almost shouted out to stop it. But at this time, as elders, they all chose to remain silent. As for Lin Ruoxi, when she saw this, the complicated feeling in her heart was indescribable. It was clearly another woman who had hit her husband, but this man was willing to be hit, and she didn't even know how to stop him. Yang Cheng took a deep breath. "Have you vented your anger? Do you want a pa?" Without waiting for Yang Cheng to finish, Mo Qianyi slapped him again with her other hand. Yang Cheng felt a trace of heat on his cheeks. After all, facing the woman he loved, Yang Cheng tried his best not to set up any protective measures, afraid that he would hurt the woman. He purely wanted to vent his anger on Mo Qianyi. Therefore, Yang Cheng could also feel the pain. Even so, Yang Cheng's body was far stronger than he had imagined. Mo Qianyi's hand was also a little numb, her palm was red, and her knuckles were white. Yang Cheng frowned. Seeing Mo Qianyi's trembling hand, he asked in a low voice, "You hit me so hard, it hurts, right? Pain? It's so painful that my bones are broken, and I'm already numb. Where did the pain come from?" Mo Qianyi sneered. Yang Cheng was annoyed. "Qianyi, what's wrong with you? Why did you have to stand in the rain and wait for me? Even if it was summer, one would still catch a cold in the rain. Can't you just tell me what you want to say?" Mo Qianyi bit her lips and held back her tears. She looked at the man with a hint of sadness in her voice. "Looking for you, looking for you? I've been looking for you and trying to contact you, but have you ever given me a chance?" What do you mean?" Yang Cheng was even more confused. Pretending not to know? Mo Qianyi sneered. "Fine, I'll say it. Because my mom told you to leave me, saying that we don't have any chance. You're going to give up on me and avoid me, right? Avoid you? Abandon you? When did I say that I was going to give up on you? Yang Chen cried out involuntarily. Mo Chinny stared at him. I can feel it even if you don't say it. That night when I called you, you directly called my name, and your voice was as cold as a stranger. Do you know how painful it was for me to hear that? I didn't say much before you hung up. I thought that you might have something urgent to attend to. But after half an hour, I called you again and again until my phone ran out of battery, but you still refused to answer. Yang Cheng was extremely depressed. I did it because I know. Mo Chinny directly interrupted Yang Cheng's explanation. You went to America, right? You didn't say anything, and you didn't even want to answer my phone. You ran to America alone, and I couldn't contact you no matter how hard I tried. Do I really annoy you so much? Do I really make it so that you don't even have a chance to talk to me? Hearing Mo Chinny's words, Guo Shuahua, who was at the side, subconsciously turned her head and looked at Ma Guifeng, who was standing far away. The two mothers saw not only heartache, but also helplessness in each other's eyes. Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. Chinny, you misunderstood me. Misunderstood? Mo Chinny's eyes were misty with tears. I also hope that it was a misunderstanding. But this morning, you didn't even stop to say a word to me. Was it also a misunderstanding? If I didn't stand at the gate and wait for you in the rain, would you still face me like this? Let me explain. Yang Cheng's head was a little dizzy, and he didn't know where to start. He grabbed his hair and frowned. He had unknowingly expanded the misunderstanding between them to such an extent. That night, he was indeed upset, so he didn't have a chance to say a few intimate words to Mo Chinny. Later, because of the incident in the Pacific Ocean, he left his phone at home, so he put it aside. He never thought that because of his momentary negligence, for Mo Chinny, the past few days would be such a heavy blow and torture. This morning, he wanted to cry, but had no tears. Coincidentally, Lin Ruashi and Jinxiu had that incident, so of course he didn't dare to stay and gossip with Mo Chinny. Who would have thought that this misunderstanding had already pushed Mo Chinny to the brink of collapse? In fact, Yang Cheng didn't know that in the relationship between him and Mo Chinny's sense of security was inferior to Yang Cheng's. Therefore, when the incident happened, Mo Chinny's nerves couldn't take the blow. Mo Chinny saw that Yang Cheng was so distressed that he didn't know what to say. She only thought that he had nothing to say, and became even more sorrowful. Don't tell me that the relationship between you and me can be decided by yourself as long as you listen to my mother's words. Why didn't you ask for my opinion and didn't even give me a chance to talk to me? I know that I'm not your wife. I'm just a little lover by your side that's dispensable. But do you think I'm willing to be your lover? Do you think I was born to be yours? Yes, I'm not as good as Ruashi. I'm not as beautiful as her, not as rich as her, and not as broad-minded as her. I'm just an ordinary white-collar worker who works under her. My family doesn't have any money. I don't have a father, and my mother still needs me to support her. But just because I'm not as good as your wife as a woman, even the right to love a man has to be taken away? Hearing the woman's words that seemed to be roaring in her heart, Yang Cheng stood there in a daze, unable to say a single word. His entire body felt like it was being burned by fire, and his heart was about to explode from a strong wave of emotions. Not far away, Lin Ruashi's eyes were filled with sorrow and sorrow. She lowered her head, not knowing what to think. Mo Chinny wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and exhaled. That's right. I fell in love with a man that I shouldn't have loved. From the day I chose to confess my love, I prepared myself mentally. I know that I'm not greedy for anything. I just want to fight for a relationship that I want, so no matter what outsiders think of me, I will never regret my choice in this life. Do you know, Yang Cheng, when you were willing to accept me, the joy in my heart was the hardest to erase in the past 20 years. I could stay by your side, occasionally talk to you, see you, eat together, go shopping together. I'll give up everything I can. Even if I can't really raise my head in front of Ruashi, Even if I become a vicious third party in the eyes of others, I don't regret it, because I know that you like me too, and that's enough. At this point, Chini smiled bitterly and shook her head. I really can't accept it. A few days ago, when I wanted to leave you for my mother, you were clearly so determined to be with me. Why? Why is it that after just a few days, because my mother said that we can't be together, you took the initiative to abandon me, give me hope, and then immediately beat me into hell? Do you really think I'm that strong, that I can really endure anything? Yang Cheng could no longer listen. It was as if his heart had been cut open by the woman's words, and even had a handful of salt sprinkled on it. Yang Cheng's vision darkened, and he couldn't even breathe. Chinny, it's not what you think. Let me finish. Chinny's eyes were burning as she said, Yang Cheng, I want to tell you. When I walked towards you, I had already given up all of my most cherished self-esteem, gave up the family that a woman should have. If you really think that I'm already a burden to you, and that it would be better for you and me to separate from you, then I have nothing to say. But when you want to leave me, you don't even want to tell me directly. Do you really have to hide from me like this? Even if people want to abandon a kitten or a puppy, they will do it with their own hands. Chapter 776. Yang Cheng heaved a long sigh of relief. Looking at the woman whose heart was as dead as ashes, he blamed himself and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Are you done? I don't know. What else can I say? Then let me say it. Yang Cheng took a step forward and reached into his pocket. After searching for a while, he took out a small item. He placed the item in his hand in front of Chinny's eyes. The woman's eyes instantly froze, and she held her breath. This is, even though the light wasn't too bright, and even though there were some stains left from the barbecue on Yang Cheng's hand, all of this couldn't hide the visual impact of the jewelry on his palm. It was a huge, sparkling pink diamond. Every section of the diamond was smooth and flawless. It was embedded in the center of the intricately carved platinum, decorated with countless tiny pink diamonds. It looked like a shy flower bud. In Yang Chen's hands, it was as incredible as a fairy tale. This was naturally the 5-carat pink diamond ring that he had spent more than $10 million at the Julian auction house. Xiao Qi-Ching, that woman, didn't succeed in getting the treasure, so of course it was left in Yang Cheng's pocket. Women had an unimaginable obsession with shiny things that men couldn't imagine. At least, Chinny didn't jump out of this category. Even Lin Ruoshi, who was standing not far away, was a little dazed despite having seen countless high-end jewelry. Not to mention Guo Shuahua and Ma Guifeng. The two elders, who were also women, had a trace of infatuation in their eyes. When she saw the pink diamond ring, Chinny's tears also stopped, and the gloominess in her eyes gradually dissipated, revealing a somewhat confused and yearning look. It wasn't that women were greedy. It was just that their natural love for jewelry made her temporarily forget a lot of sadness. I want to tell you that this is the reason why I hung up on you and went to the United States. Yang Cheng said with a smile. Yang Cheng had also thought it through. He could not directly tell Chinny that he had gone to the Pacific Ocean to fight with Poseidon and then survive the Tai Ching heavenly thunder tribulation. It was not that he could not say it, but it would not have any effect even if he did. If he told her the story, it would be too fake for Chinny. Therefore, making up a story was the best medicine for Chinny to walk out of the shadow. With great difficulty, Chinny shifted her gaze away from the pink diamond ring. What do you mean by that? With a deadpan expression, Yang Cheng replied, When I received your call that night, I did feel uncomfortable because of Auntie's words. But my dear Qian, it's only because I have a knot in my heart. That's why I spoke awkwardly. I've never thought of giving up on you. So how can I bear to? Really? A glimmer of hope flashed in Chinny's eyes. Of course. Yang Cheng smiled and said, At that time, Kristen from the United States told me that she had an urgent matter to attend to, so I hung up the phone first. In the end, Kristen said that Julian's auction house in Beverly Hills, Los Angeles, had a world-famous pink diamond ring to be auctioned. She asked me if I was interested in buying it as a gift for a woman. I fell in love with it the moment I saw the picture. So I quickly bought a plane ticket and flew over to buy it myself. In the end, I was too anxious and forgot to bring my phone when I went out, so I accidentally didn't pick up your call. Later, Kristen also called back to China and told Ruashi and the others at home. I didn't expect you to think that I was deliberately avoiding you. You really misunderstood me to the point that I don't know what to say. You've wronged me to death. Mo Chinny hesitated and looked like she couldn't believe it. However, when she saw the genuine big diamond ring in Yang Cheng's hand, she inevitably believed it a little more. Though, what you said is true. Not ignoring me, but going to the United States to buy this ring? Yang Cheng looked like he was about to get angry. Why? Am I so unconvincing? Well, let me tell you another thing. This morning, the reason why I didn't stop to talk to you when I was driving wasn't on purpose. I was really anxious. You don't know, Ruashi brought Zhenxiu to the examination hall. Today was the college entrance examination. On the way, there were 3 blind guys who deliberately caused a car accident and extorted money. How can I not be anxious to chase those gangsters away? And I saw that you were dressed for work. How would I know that you had so many things to tell me? And my phone was charging in the room, so of course I couldn't answer your call. If you don't believe me, you can ask Ruashi, or you can go to the police station and ask. Hearing this, Mo Chinny finally smiled through her tears. The sudden joy made it difficult for her to control herself. She shook her head. I believe you, I believe you. I was too sensitive. I shouldn't have doubted you so easily. It's my fault. Yang Cheng reached out his left hand and caressed the woman's cheek, gently caressing it. I have indeed been confused and hesitant before, but what I am thinking about now is how to solve the problems that I encounter in the future and not choose to retreat and give up. Mo Chinny smiled and nodded, choking with sobs. Yang Cheng smiled evilly and winked. You also know that I have no great ambitions. The only small hobby I have is beautiful women. How could I bear to not have you? Mo Chinny coquettishly rolled her eyes at him. Then her gaze fell on the pink diamond ring on Yang Cheng's hand. She pursed her lips, as if she wanted to say something but was hesitant. Are you curious about who this is for? Yang Cheng asked. Mo Chinny pouted and subconsciously looked at Lin Ruashi, who was standing not far away. At the same time, Lin Ruashi was also looking at her coldly. The 2 women looked at each other without a trace of fire. After working together for so many years, they understood each other better than Yang Cheng, and there were many unspeakable entanglements and conflicts. Mo Chinny turned her head and shook her head with a smile. The ring, of course, is for her. Without waiting for her to finish, Yang Cheng suddenly grabbed Mo Chinny's hand, placed the pink diamond ring on the woman's palm, and then closed Mo Chinny's fingers. Mo Chinny stared blankly at Yang Cheng, unable to react for a moment. Yang Cheng sighed, but with a warm and sincere voice, he said, Although I can't personally put it on your ring finger, don't doubt that this ring belongs to you. It belongs to you, Mo Chinny. Mo Chinny even suspected whether she was dreaming, but when she felt the hardness of her palm, she clearly realized that it really was her own. And when Lin Ruashi, who was next to the car, saw this scene, although she had a hunch, her pretty face still showed a trace of paleness. Perhaps to her, even a ring worth more than 10 million USD wasn't too much, but her husband had never given her a ring. Now, he had given another woman a large diamond ring. This was no different from a great mockery. Even if Yang Cheng didn't put it on for Mo Chinny, expressing his respect for his wife, it was like burying one's head in the sand, and it didn't make Lin Ruashi feel better. Guo Xiuhua, who had been watching the scene change, could be said to be anxious. She was happy that her son had appeased Mo Chinny, but she was also worried about Yang Cheng's action of giving a ring. Was this ring something that could be given casually? And it was such a big diamond ring. Seeing that her daughter-in-law, Lin Ruashi's face was getting colder, Guo Xiuhua was really anxious, but she couldn't say anything. And when Ma Guifang saw that Yang Cheng actually gave her daughter a diamond ring in front of Lin Ruashi, she was also a little surprised. Seeing the little woman Mo Chinny's happy expression, she fell into an inexplicable thought. At this moment, Mo Chinny really felt that she was overflowing with happiness. Although she felt very sorry for Lin Ruoshi, at this time, she didn't have too much time to care about others. Yang Cheng was willing to give her a ring in front of Lin Ruoshi, Guxiuehua, and her mother. The meaning of this was far more precious than the ring itself. Do you like it? Yang Cheng saw that the woman wanted to cry and laugh at the same time, so he couldn't help but ask with a smile. Mo Chinny nodded. I like it very much. Guess how much I spent on this ring? How can I guess? It must be very expensive. Mo Chinny asked anxiously. Yang Cheng moved closer to Mo Chinny's ear and whispered, 14 million US dollars. How about it? This price is sincere enough, right? Mo Chinny's hand trembled, and she almost dropped the ring on the ground. Her breathing quickened as she patted her chest, and she couldn't help but complain, Are you trying to scare me to death? How can you give such an expensive thing to me, so casually? Yang Cheng shrugged indifferently. Compared to my little Qian, which is a priceless treasure, this ring is nothing. Although she knew that this was a man's honeyed words, Mo Chinny still smiled sweetly. After being said like this, although the ring felt heavy, she could still accept it. However, Lin Ruoshi, who saw this scene, could no longer remain indifferent. The woman coldly glanced at Yang Cheng, turned around, opened the door of the BMW behind her, sat in the driver's seat, and slammed the door, started the car, and left. Guxiuehua sighed bitterly. You child, even if you want to tell Chinny the truth and comfort Chinny, how can you give the ring in front of Ruoshi? Mo Chinny saw and heard all this and lowered her head in self-reproach. Yang Cheng wiped the cold sweat on his head and smiled bitterly. Mom, do I need you to say that? If I don't face it honestly, it will become more and more difficult to say it openly. I won't give up on Chinny. Ruoshi, after seeing everything today, will think more than before. Is it because you don't want to give up? Nothing will happen. A cold voice came from the door next door. It was Ma Guifeng, who quietly walked out and expressionlessly faced Yang Cheng. Chapter 777. Mom. When Mo Chinny saw Ma Guifeng coming out, she looked perturbed, but her hands held Yang Cheng's arm tightly. She bit her lips, and her eyes were full of stubborn determination. Yang Cheng reached out and patted the woman's hand. He smiled comfortingly and said, Auntie, I know there may be a lot of headaches in the future, but I hope you can believe me. I will find a way to make Chinny happy in the future. A way? General Lin has already driven away in anger. You call this a way? Ma Guifeng sneered. Do you think I don't want you to be happy? I've been through it, and I know the pain I've suffered. The more you can't be separated now, the more pain you'll feel in the future when you can't hold on anymore. Not only for yourselves, but also for the people around you. Don't you think about the future? Mom. Mo Chinny suddenly raised her voice and looked at her mother. If you let me go now, I won't have a future. Time seemed to freeze at this moment. Ma Guifeng's eyes were filled with astonishment. She was so stunned that she couldn't speak. Yang Cheng was also shocked, but then he felt something wrong with Mo Chinny. When he turned around, he saw that Mo Chinny's eyelids were gradually closing, and her body was about to collapse on him. Chinny, Yang Cheng shouted. Guxiuehua and Ma Guifeng were also shocked. Mo Chinny was too weak to respond. After shouting that sentence, she seemed to have exhausted all her strength. After closing her eyes, she leaned on Yang Cheng and fainted. Girl. Seeing this, Ma Guifeng didn't care about anything else. She ran forward and grabbed her daughter's hand, calling out to her worriedly. Guxiuehua, who was standing by the side, had mixed feelings. She said worriedly, Sister Ma, don't move. Chinny's complexion wasn't good to begin with. After being in the rain for half a day, her whole body was wet. She must have caught a cold. Quickly bring her home and warm her up. Ma Guifeng came to her senses and quickly nodded. Yang Cheng's heart was filled with guilt, but more than that, it was the slowly growing negative emotions. Picking up the unconscious woman, Yang Cheng expressionlessly ignored the two elders and strode to the house next door. At this time, Ma Guifeng couldn't care about anything else. She could only let Yang Cheng carry her daughter. Looking at Yang Cheng's expression, Ma Guifeng felt a chill in her heart for some reason. This young man was like a ferocious beast trying his best to suppress his anger. Although he didn't say a word, she could feel the unimaginable hysteria suppressed in his chest. For the first time, Ma Guifeng realized that this young man actually had an unusual and terrifying side. After entering the house, Yang Cheng carried Mo Chinny upstairs. Since Qiang Wei had left early in the morning, it didn't cause any panic. Seeing that Yang Cheng was about to carry her daughter into the room, Ma Guifeng said hurriedly, "Don't go back to the room. Go to the bathroom. I'll help her take off her wet clothes, wash her, and change into something dry." Yang Cheng didn't listen to her. He carried Mo Chinny into the room. Ma Guifeng frowned. "Yang Cheng, I know you're upset now, but this isn't the time to throw a tantrum. If she lies down with her whole body wet, her cold and fever will only worsen." Yang Cheng still didn't speak. After entering the room, he came to the side of Mo Chinny's clean and white bed. His hands suddenly let go of her in the air. "Ah!" Ma Guifeng exclaimed. She thought that Yang Cheng was going to throw her daughter down. However, the following scene made Ma Guifeng completely dumbfounded. She saw that Mo Chinny's body didn't fall because of Yang Cheng's release of his hands. Instead, she hung softly in the air, as if there was an invisible force that continued to hold her steadily. This scene was like a magic trick that was occasionally shown on television. But Yang Cheng obviously wasn't performing a magic trick. Ma Guifeng had lived in a mountain village for most of her life. She hadn't seen much of the world. Seeing such a strange situation, her brain instantly stopped working. Yang Cheng didn't bother about his elder's shocked expression. Instead, he gently brushed his hand over Mo Chinny's body. In his eyes, other than tenderness, there was self-blame. Whereas Ma Guifeng, who was behind, was shocked to see that the clothes on Mo Chinny's body were being sucked dry at a visible speed. The clothes, which were originally wet, immediately became dry, as though they had been dried by the sun. As for Mo Chinny's messy hair, it had become soft and drooped down. Every strand of hair was clearly dried as well. When Mo Chinny's body was completely dehydrated, Yang Cheng then reached out to take off the woman's high heels. He carried the woman who was hanging in the air and slowly placed her on the soft bed. He then pulled a towel over and covered her. You are. Ma Guifeng was tongue-tied. If it wasn't for the Yang Cheng that she knew in front of her, she would have even run away. In the eyes of this woman, what Yang Cheng had done was as unbelievable as the demons and ghosts in the fairy tales. Yang Cheng turned around, and the gloomy expression on his face dissipated. Once again, he revealed a slightly simple and honest smile. "I'll explain later. Let me recuperate Chinny's body first." With that, Yang Cheng sat on the edge of the bed and grabbed one of Mo Chinny's wrists. He recuperated through the woman's meridians to remove all the cold toxins. Of course, Ma Guifeng couldn't understand all of this. However, in the eyes of the woman, her daughter's face, which was pale at the beginning, became rosy and bright in less than 10 seconds. Even her eyebrows, which had been frowning painfully, were relaxed, as though she was very comfortable and nourished in her sleep. After Yang Cheng had done all of this, he then placed Mo Chinny's hand back on the bed. He reached out and caressed Mo Chinny's face gently. There was a trace of gentleness in his eyes. Then, he turned to Ma Guifeng and said, "Auntie, I know that what I've done might have frightened you, but please rest assured that I've always been kind to you and your daughter." Ma Guifeng gulped and tried her best to calm herself down. "Yang Cheng, who exactly are you?" "Me?" Yang Cheng smiled gently. "My identity can't be explained in a short time. If there's a chance in the future, I'll let Chinny know. Chinny can slowly tell you, Annie." Ma Guifeng didn't speak. She didn't know how to face this young man. Because of Yang Cheng's actions, she couldn't use normal logic to consider it. Yang Cheng suddenly stood up and solemnly bowed to Ma Guifeng. "Auntie, I know that in your eyes, and even in the eyes of most people, I'm not a good man. I also admit that I'm greedy, selfish, rogue, and shameless. I like beautiful women, and as long as I like them, I'll greedily possess them. I won't allow other men to have any covetous eyes on the women I like. In the past, I could even kill people in broad daylight just to snatch a woman. I won't divorce my wife for Chieni, and I won't give up my family and marriage for other women. So, I can't give Chieni a complete marriage, and I can't even give her a status. You could say that I'm unreasonable. Yes, I indeed don't talk about worldly logic, but I have my own truth. Since I'm sensible, I only know that as long as I'm strong enough, I can have everything that I want. Ma Guifeng stood there in a stupefied manner. When she heard these wild words that completely disregarded ethics and morality, there was a trace of anger in her heart. But Yang Cheng unintentionally emitted a horrifying aura that was as vast as the heaven and earth, which made her unable to say anything to refute. So much so that Ma Guifeng didn't fall down was already a luxury. At this moment, Yang Cheng took a deep breath and suddenly smiled. The sharp edge that was revealed was completely restrained. But, Annie, I want to say everything that I've done to Chieni is true. I don't know how to make you believe it, but this is the most painful thing for me. I can assure you that no matter what background, what identity, what ability I have, I will never give up on Chieni. I just want you to be clear. Firstly, I won't give up on Chieni, because we cherish each other. Secondly, I can't guarantee that Chieni won't suffer any grievances in her lifetime. That's not realistic. But I'll definitely let her feel that I'm by her side after she's been wronged. I'll take care of her, protect her, and make her happy. I'll never let her be alone without anyone's love unless I die. Chapter 778. The pupils in Ma Guifeng's eyes contracted. This man's words were a little too straightforward. He didn't even have the slightest bit of beautiful words. It was a touching oath, but it was so hard to refuse. Ma Guifeng turned her head and looked at her daughter on the bed. Although Mo Chieni was unconscious, the hand that was exposed outside the blanket was tightly clenched. Silly girl, the ring that was given by a man. Was she still worried that it would be taken away when she fainted? A bitter smile spread across Ma Guifeng's face. It was as if the woman had aged another 10 years in an instant. She turned her head to face Yang Cheng. The woman wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and said with a smile, Yang Cheng, do you know what it feels like to be a mother? Yang Cheng's eyes were filled with doubt as he shook his head. Ma Guifeng chuckled and muttered in a low voice, I only have this one child in my life. From the moment she was born, I thought, if smiles and tears are equally shared in this world, then leave all the tears to me as a mother and give all the smiles to this child. These were the words from the heart of a mother. Do you think I'm not in pain when I see my daughter sad? I'm so sad that I want to die for her. But how can I bear to see this pitiful child sad alone in this world? When she was very young, she lost her father and suffered so much before she came to this big city in Zhonghai. It was with great difficulty that she met a noble person and grew up to be an outstanding person today. How can I bear to let this child, who has already suffered for more than 20 years, become a shameful person at the most beautiful stage of her life? Shameful. Ma Guifeng couldn't continue. She was already sobbing uncontrollably. She covered her face and was unable to extricate herself from the sorrow. Yang Cheng stood there in shock, feeling as if his heart was being cut by a knife. But very quickly, his eyes became more resolute, and he said resolutely, Auntie, other than giving up on Chieni, I could do everything for Chieni. I promise you, in your lifetime, I will let you know that your daughter is not shameful when she is by my side. Ma Guifeng raised her head with tears in her eyes and looked at the resolute young man. After looking at him for a long time, she sighed deeply and smiled. I understand now. As parents, they will eventually lose to their children. When Yang Cheng heard this, he was overjoyed. In that case, Uncle, oh no. Mom, you agree? Ma Guifeng smiled. Just a little bit of good expression and this guy would brighten up. However, it was also because of such a straightforward expression that she could see this child's true temperament. You child, I can't do anything to you anymore. Yang Cheng foolishly rubbed his head and grinned happily. The stone in his heart had finally fallen by a large margin. No matter how high his cultivation was, the matters between men and women could still torture him to madness. Look at how happy you are. Sigh. It's already afternoon. I'll go down and prepare dinner. If you want to stay, then stay here and accompany the girl. After saying that, Ma Guifeng looked at Yang Cheng up and down strangely for a while, making Yang Cheng's entire body itch. Mom, what are you looking at? Yang Cheng asked uncomfortably. Ma Guifeng said with some embarrassment, Yang Cheng, that skill you used just now, was it an immortal spell? Yang Cheng's face was filled with embarrassment. He was stunned for a moment and said, It's not a spell, but it's quite useful. It's definitely not a trick. Ma Guifeng nodded as if she understood. With a thoughtful expression, she turned around and left the room, closing the door behind her. Yang Cheng always felt that Ma Guifeng wanted to say something, but she didn't say it. It was strange, but he was too lazy to think too much about it. Turning around and looking at the woman sleeping soundly on the bed, Yang Cheng's eyes revealed a gentle light. He quietly sat down and stared deeply at the beautiful face with pink cheeks and peach-colored lips. The woman's room was filled with the fragrance of orchids on her body. However, Yang Cheng didn't smell this teasing scent like he did in the past and couldn't help but pounce on her. Instead, he was exceptionally pitiful and didn't move at all to accompany her. In the quiet room, Yang Cheng forgot about the time and everything outside. Perhaps it was a bit unfair to his wife who had angrily driven away, but Yang Cheng selfishly only wanted to leave this period of time for this silly woman who was already lying on the bed. Time slipped away, and gradually the sky became darker. Because it was a rainy day, the sky darkened especially quickly. Yang Cheng almost didn't dare to breathe loudly, afraid that he would disturb the beauty. However, the sound of the wind and rain outside gradually became louder and louder, causing Mo Chinny, who had just recovered, to wake up. She opened her eyes drowsily, and her eyes were like two pools of clear spring water in the darkness, rippling in the air. You're awake? Are you feeling better? Yang Cheng asked softly. Mo Chinny looked at the man sitting on the bed and seemed to be a little suspicious. She stretched out her hand and rubbed her eyes tenderly. Only then did she confirm that the person she saw was her sweetheart. Why are you in my room? Mo Chinny asked in a daze. Yang Cheng sighed speechlessly. Isn't it because of a stupid woman who got herself drenched in the rain? Mo Chinny thought about it carefully and understood. She pursed her lips into a smile and supported herself up to sit up. Just as she exerted force, she suddenly felt something hard in the center of her right hand. She was slightly startled and opened her right palm. The pink diamond ring was still shining brightly. In this monotonous room, it was like a bright star. Mo Chinny stared at the warm, big diamond for a long time, playfully stuck out her tongue, and couldn't hide her joy as she coquettishly said, Don't think I'm tacky. Actually, when I was young, I always dreamed that a man would give me a big diamond ring one day, so I'm especially happy now. Yang Cheng teased. Then did you also dream that when a man gave you a diamond ring, you would repay him with your body? Mo Chinny blushed and lowered her head in embarrassment, unable to say a word. Yang Cheng reached out to pinch the woman's soft chin. What are you shy about? Say it. It's just the two of us. What's there to be afraid of? I'm not going to be an old couple with you. Mo Chinny rolled her eyes at Yang Cheng. Suddenly, she thought of something and raised her head to ask, Oh, right, my mother, Mom agreed. Yang Cheng said directly. What? I said, Mom has decided to give you, a disobedient kitten, to me to raise. Yang Cheng said proudly. Kitten? Mo Chinny finally understood what was going on. She shyly bit her lips, but joy suddenly welled up, causing the woman's eyes to redden again. Yang Cheng clicked his tongue and said with a smile, I purposely said it so simply because I was afraid that you would cry out of happiness. Look at you. It wasn't easy for me to help you recuperate, and your swollen eyes have also disappeared. Now, they're going to be swollen again. Mo Chinny was so embarrassed that she wanted to throw the thing in her hand at Yang Cheng. However, she immediately realized that it was the diamond ring in her hand. So she carefully placed it on the bedside table and picked up a pillow to throw at Yang Cheng. Is it funny that I'm crying? Do you know how worried I am? Yang Cheng revealed an expression as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. He smiled in relief and opened his arms, hugging the woman's soft and delicate body tightly in his embrace. Mo Chinny relaxed her body and tried her best to stick close to her lover, enjoying the happiest moment of each other's lives. The feeling of bitterness and sweetness filled both of their bodies and minds. Little Qian, Yang Cheng whispered into the woman's ear. Mo Chinny softly agreed. Yang Cheng gently caressed the woman's hair, breathing in the warmth, and asked, why do you like me so much? I was so stupid before, and I unintentionally caused so much harm to you. Yet you still waited for me in the rain. The person who broke your heart, am really that good? It was soft, but it was incomparably certain. Yang Cheng was silent for a moment. What's so good about it? Mo Chinny leaned on Yang Cheng's shoulder, revealing a sweet smile. You're as beautiful as a flower. Yang Cheng helplessly frowned. Don't tell me the objective factors that all the people of Huaxia know. I want to hear you tell me what's in your heart. Be honest. Mo Chinny pouted, her beautiful eyes narrowed with a trace of mischievousness. Then how should I say it? Kitten is very stupid. I don't know. Why don't you teach me? Sigh. All right, I'll teach you. I'm listening. I love you. Yes, I love you. Outside the house, the rain gradually grew heavier. The curtain-like water droplets slid down the eaves and splashed onto the tender and beautiful peony petals downstairs, blooming into sparkling and translucent flowers. Chapter 779. It was nighttime in Beijing. In the study room of the Ning family's residence, Ning Guangyao sat on a comfortable leather chair. After reading a document in his hand, he signed his name. At this moment, someone knocked on the door of the study room. Come in. Ning Guangyao put the pen and document aside. He took a cup of tea and took a sip. A man in a suit bowed after opening the door. He signaled with his eyes behind him, and a thin figure walked into the study room. The young man had changed into a set of plain and clean clothes. His hair was trimmed, and his face was fair and clean. He was wearing a pair of canvas shoes and limped into the study room. Premier Ning. Cripple's voice trembled as he carefully lowered his head. He didn't dare to raise his head to look at the person with the highest authority in the Huaxia government, who was sitting a few meters away. Ning Guangyao put down the teacup and asked calmly, Wen Tao, is your real name, right? Cripple was stunned for a moment. Then he said softly, yes. I've sent someone to look into your background. 3 years ago, you failed the college entrance examination by 1 point and failed to enter. At the same time, your father died in a car accident and you became a cripple. Later on, your mother died from drinking pesticide and you started begging, right? Ning Guangyao asked. Wen Tao's eyes were a little red. He gulped and said, Premier is right, but actually I did get into university back then. Oh, is that so? What do you mean? Cripple Wen Tao raised his head for the first time. His face was green as he said, I heard it from one of my teachers. She went to participate in marking the papers. She secretly told me that it was because the quota was going to be used by the son of a leader of the Education Bureau. So, she brushed me off and let that person replace me. She purposely found a spot that didn't originally deduct points and deducted 1 point from me. I was alone. I didn't have money or power, so I wanted to report it. In the end, it was that dog official. That dog official sent people to make my father and I get into a car accident. My family was originally poor. My parents were laid-off workers and worked hard all their lives, hoping that I would be able to fight for them. I could have entered Peking University and changed my fate, allowing my parents to live a good life. But because I was just an ordinary poor student, I could only be played by them. The deep resentment and uncountable hatred made the man in the suit standing at the door feel a chill down his spine. Ning Guangyao frowned. Aren't you afraid that I'll do something to you if you call the government a dog official right in front of me? Wen Tao gritted his teeth. Premier Ning, you wouldn't do that to me. If you wanted to silence me, you would have killed me that day. Why? I know you have a shocking secret in your mouth. That's why I left you alive, Ning Guangyao said. Wen Tao grinned. Premier Ning, This lowly one is not a person of great wisdom, nor do I understand how a big shot like you can think carefully. But I believe that Premier Ning might not be interested in the secrets I know. Moreover, if Premier Ning really wants to know, he can use all sorts of methods to torture me and force me to tell him. But Premier Ning did not do so. The only possibility is that Premier Ning cared about his many years of marriage with the Premier's wife and could not bear to refuse her dying request. Or, you have other thoughts. Ning Guangyao's eyes narrowed, emitting a cold light. Also, Wen Tao swallowed his saliva and continued nervously. I'm just an insignificant little reptile in your eyes. Even if you kill me, there's no meaning in it at all. If you keep me, I might be of more use. Ning Guangyao lightly knocked on the table a few times with one hand and said, "The college entrance examination is in progress. You won't be able to make it in time. However, it's not that you can't enter Peking University. It's just that after you enter, you can't embarrass me." Wen Tao's eyes revealed a trace of ecstasy. He knelt on the ground and kowtowed. "Thank you, Premier. Thank you, Premier. I will definitely not embarrass you. I will hand over the specific work of admission to my subordinates. From the moment you entered the school, you were a distant relative of the Premier's wife. Before the madam passed away, she entrusted me to take care of her. As for the rest, you're not stupid. Do you know what to say?" Ning Guangyao said lightly. Wen Tao nodded his head vigorously. I understand. I definitely won't reveal anything." Ning Guangyao frowned. "It's not that I don't want to reveal anything. It's that there's no way to reveal anything. Yes, when you make a name for yourself in Peking University, I will give you some things to do. As for the secret that you use to save your life, when you feel that I won't kill you, just tell me." Ning Guangyao said with a cold smile. "Of course, my patience is not very good." Wen Tao's body stiffened as he nodded silently. "Get out." Ning Guangyao waved his hand. Wen Tao got up from the ground, his footsteps a little light as he retreated out of the study. When the door to the study was closed, the man in a suit who had been guarding the door took a few steps forward and asked in confusion, "Patriarch, why don't you let this subordinate beat that cripple up? I don't believe that he can endure it and will obediently tell us the secret." Ning Guangyao picked up the teacup and took another sip of the fragrant tea. "He won't tell us even if he dies." The man in the suit was stunned and said unnaturally, "Patriarch, why do you say that? He's just a little beggar." "Humph." Ning Guangyao glanced at the man disdainfully. "What do you know? Have you ever thought about it? He's just a fledgling beggar, yet he's doing well in the entire beggar and homeless circle in Zhonghai. Why is it that the other beggars are willing to take care of that woman, but he's always been by her side?" A trace of astonishment appeared in the suited man's eyes. "Could it be? That's right." Ning Guangyao snorted coldly. He must have known that woman was the Prime Minister's wife a long time ago. He just pretended not to know. From the beginning, he was gambling on whether or not he could use this opportunity to enter an upper realm. He had a cheap life, and his death was nothing to be regretted. He had long since disregarded life and death. In just a few days, he was able to make that scheming woman trust him wholeheartedly. He even told the beggar a secret that I didn't even tell him before she died to save his life. Obviously, that stinky brat is not a simple person. You see, he's like a stray dog, trembling with fear as if he's treading on thin ice. But from the beginning, everything was just that brat's trick to confuse you. He thought that everything was under his control, but how could he hide it from me, Ning Guangyao? However, to deal with a bunch of idiots like you, his schemes are profound. Some people, even if they're given a good life and carefully nurtured from a young age, may not become a great talent. But some people, even if they look mediocre and insignificant, as long as they are given a chance, they can achieve great things. Even if they don't become heroes, they can at least become ambitious and ruthless. When the suited man heard this, he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. He no longer dared to underestimate that little beggar, Wen Tao. He looked at his master, Ning Guangyao, with an exceptionally respectful gaze. Then, "Patriarch, since that brat is such a dangerous person, why did you let him live and allow him to study at Peking University? If you give him some opportunities in the future, it will be hard to avoid raising a tiger." Umph. Ning Guangyao glanced at him disdainfully. It's because there are too many mediocre people like you that I can't do anything big. If you were a king among kings, how could you only use some vulgar generals? What I want is a talented general, just like how Emperor Zhao Lai of the Three Kingdoms dared to use Wulong Zhuge. Although I am not as good as the ancients, he is also not a dragon among men. Since he dared to use him, there was no need to be afraid of him. You are the trusted aides who are the mainstays of my Ning family. He is just a blade that stretches out from the outside, so you don't have to worry too much. For a character like him who can give up everything, if you really want to force him into a dead end, he will only fight to the death and will never compromise. So, instead of beating him up and forcing him to reveal his secret, it's better to use his little cleverness and cold-blooded scheming to work for me. As for the secrets he knows, sooner or later, we'll have an idea. The suited man nodded repeatedly, but his face was still full of worry. The more he thought about it, the more Wen Tao felt a chill run down his spine. Ning Guangyao let out a long sigh. Mind your own business and don't think about those things. Do you really think that my Ning family is able to occupy the position of the head of the four great families just because I, Ning Guangyao, am the premier? The suited man was stunned and looked at Ning Guangyao in confusion. However, when he saw the eerie smile on Ning Guangyao's face, other than feeling even colder, he had no other thoughts. Zhonghai, inside Mo Qianyi's room. Perhaps it was because she didn't eat or sleep well for the past few days. Her mental strength was also exhausted. Lying in Yang Cheng's arms, she didn't enjoy the sweetness for long before she fell asleep again. Yang Cheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he carried the woman who was grabbing onto him like a koala bear. He tucked her back into the blanket, combed her messy hair, and stood up. Looking at the heavy rain outside the house, Yang Chun sighed. It was time for him to start preparing for the future. Turning around, Yang Cheng smiled at the door and said gently, "Why are you standing at the door?" The door had been opened at some point, and a woman wearing a purple chiffon shirt and a sequin black skirt was leaning against the door. Her pair of round and fair legs looked particularly slender and smooth because of her slightly slanted posture. Her sexy lips were slightly raised, and her shoulder-length hair with a trace of small waves made her look like a charming elf in the darkness. Chapter 780. I think the scene is very beautiful. I don't want it to be broken because of me, Xiang Wei said softly. Yang Cheng's heart warmed. This woman was always so considerate, just like before. He silently walked to the woman's side, pulled up a cold hand, and walked out. Xiang Wei was stunned. Seeing that Yang Cheng was about to pull her to his room, she immediately thought of something and said with a pink face, "Why can't a man like you have some other thoughts? We haven't seen each other for a long time. Do you really have to go to bed the moment you see each other?" Yang Cheng turned around with a wry smile. "Darling Xiang Wei, you're too good at letting your imagination run wild. I have something to discuss with you." Xiang Wei realized that she was thinking too much. Her face was especially hot as she pouted in resentment. Entering Xiang Wei's room, Yang Cheng pulled the woman to sit side by side on the bed and looked her up and down for a while. "There's a smell of blood on your body. Did you kill someone?" Xiang Wei's previously smiling face became a little unnatural. "I thought that after washing up and seeing you again, you wouldn't be able to tell. I'm an expert in killing people. How can you hide it from me?" Yang Cheng smiled and pinched the woman's nose. "Furthermore, you don't have to hide it from me. As long as you're fine, I don't care who you kill in the underworld." Xiang Wei's eyes overflowed with tenderness as she gently leaned on the man's shoulder. "Actually, it's two elders in the gang. They're doing the ice business with a few drug lords in the Middle East behind my back. I gave them a chance, but they still thought that I wouldn't dare to touch them. You went out so early in the morning and came back so late. You must have killed quite a few people," Yang Cheng said with a light smile. Xiang Wei's eyes revealed a trace of coldness. "Since you want to move, then pull them up by the roots. Their trusted aides, subordinates, and even their families, leave none alive." Yang Cheng gently caressed the woman's hair, his fingers touching Xiang Wei's face, rubbing it for a while. "Why do it yourself? Can't you let Shenrong go?" "Her?" Xiang Wei sneered. She thinks I don't know that the two of them have some kind of deal with her. If it weren't for Chen Rong's secret permission, they wouldn't have dared to do it so confidently. Chen Rong is still not obedient enough. Yang Cheng said carelessly. Yes. Because of the man's gentle caress, Qiang Wei squinted her eyes in satisfaction, as if she was about to fall asleep. But she's obedient most of the time, and she does have her ways. If someone else were to replace her, they might not be as good as she was. Moreover, anyone would be tempted by benefits. At least she didn't have the guts to disobey me. With that, Qiang Wei raised her head and looked at Yang Cheng with admiration. I know she's afraid of you. No matter how greedy she is, she wouldn't dare touch your bottom line. Yang Cheng chuckled indifferently. Let them be, it's just a small fight, I don't take it to heart. Let me tell you something serious. Qiang Wei nodded curiously. I'm listening. It's rare for you to discuss something with me. I'll definitely listen carefully. You're the only one who's naughty. Yang Cheng kissed the woman's face and said seriously, Qiang Wei, are you curious? When we were happy together, we never used protection, but you guys never got pregnant with my child? Qiang Wei was startled. She never thought that Yang Cheng would say such a thing at the beginning. Her face flushed red as she asked expectantly, doubly, why? Are you thinking that I deliberately used some method to prevent you from getting pregnant with my child? Yang Cheng said with a smile. Qiang Wei nodded embarrassedly, a little, you're wrong about me. It's not that I don't want to, it's that I can't. Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. Huh? Qiang Wei seemed to have suffered a blow, and her face turned pale. How? How could that be? Your body is it's very sturdy. That's not what I mean. Yang Cheng scratched his ear with a headache. What I mean is, in our current state, I can't let you get pregnant. Qiang Wei was confused. She blinked her big eyes, but she was completely dumbfounded. Yang Cheng sighed softly and began to talk about his cultivation, as well as the series of reasons why it was difficult for him to give birth to a child with an ordinary woman. Listening to the endless resolve restoration scripture, the Xiantian realm, the deity transformation stage, the tribulation transcendence, and other magical words, as well as a series of legendary cultivation methods. Qiang Wei's initial shock gradually turned into disbelief, and in the end, she became worried with a trace of fear. Then what should we do? You're getting stronger and stronger, aren't we? Qiang Wei's eyes were filled with sadness. Yang Cheng said helplessly, the child is not the most important thing. The key is our aging problem. Aging, that's right. Yang Cheng nodded and said, although I can't guarantee how long my lifespan will be, I think with my current physical condition and cultivation, it's easy for me to live for hundreds of years. Moreover, my body won't age, and my functions won't deteriorate. In fact, after a period of time, if I can improve my cultivation again, my lifespan will only get longer and longer. Hearing this, Qiang Wei's pretty face turned pale, and she shook her head in a panic. No, I don't want that. If that's the case, after a dozen years, you'll still be so young. But I'll be old. What? What should I do? Yang Cheng grabbed the woman's shoulders and shook his head, saying, don't panic. I said this because I want to find a way to solve the problem. Moreover, with our relationship, do you think I won't love you just because you're getting old? If that's the case, then what's the difference between you and the other women I've interacted with before? I don't love you because of your looks. From the beginning, you should have understood that I don't want you to think of me as that kind of person. Qiang Wei nodded her head emotionally, her eyes glistening with tears as she caressed Yang Cheng's cheek. But, hubby, I'm so scared. I only knew that you were very powerful before, but it turns out, so it's not that simple at all. What should I do to not leave you? I don't want you to see me grow old. I'd rather leave you. At this moment, the helpless woman was not the ruthless Iron Queen of the underworld at all. She was like a girl praying to God to comfort her. Yang Cheng grabbed Qiang Wei's trembling little hand. That's why I want to discuss it with you. If I want you, Qinni, and all of you to not leave me, and everyone to live young together, the only way is for everyone to cultivate. Cultivate? Like you? Qiang Wei was a little hesitant, but, can I? Of course you can, Yang Cheng said confidently. To be honest, although I've always been exploring on my own, it's also because of this that I have a very deep understanding of many things. Then, then what should I do? Yang Cheng said with a smile. Darling Chiang Wei, after thinking about it, I think you're the most suitable to be the first to try. Your physical fitness has the foundation of martial arts. Your tendons are more flexible, and you also have a preliminary understanding of martial arts. Also, you have the most free time now. The matters of the Red Thorn Society are actually small matters. If you want to maintain it, you can let Shinrong handle it. If there's a problem and you can't handle it, you don't have to worry about anything with me around. If the Red Thorn Society doesn't care, it's fine. To be honest, in my eyes, unifying the underground world of Zhonghai is a matter of seconds. As long as you have time, you can fully attempt to cultivate. I will think of a way to help you sort out a suitable cultivation technique that I think is suitable, help you build a good foundation, and then think of a way to speed up your cultivation. If you can enter the Xiantian realm, then your lifespan will greatly increase, and that will be the first step to success. If you can do it, then I can be at ease and let Qianni train with you. There was still plenty of time, so there was no need to be too anxious. I'm also fumbling around on my own. I don't have any systematic knowledge, so I don't dare to rashly give you cultivation guidance. I have to think that it's absolutely safe before I let you try. After all, there are always risks in cultivating. I can't bear to see you suffer. Qiang Wei's eyes finally lit up with hope. She nodded seriously. I'll listen to you. I'll leave the Red Thorn Society to Chunrong. As long as I can be with you, I can give up anything. Yang Chun smiled faintly and hugged the woman tightly in his arms. I'll feel better if you ask me for more things from time to time. But I feel guilty that you're always willing to sacrifice everything for me. Don't worry. In order to make my Qiang Wei beautiful for the rest of her life, I will not hesitate to transfer my cultivation to you. Qiang Wei asked doubtfully. Your cultivation can be transferred to others? Yang Cheng smiled awkwardly. That should be, I don't know if I can. Qiang Wei pouted. You only know how to coax people. Just wait and see. I will definitely maintain my youth forever. I didn't know before, but now I know that there's a way to not grow old. I don't care about anything else, of course. Being young is the most important. But, to be honest, hubby, this is a bit like a dream. Smack! Yang Cheng suddenly slapped Qiang Wei's butt. The flesh was very elastic. Ah, why did you hit me? I want you to know that it's not a dream. You are going to become an ageless demoness. Qiang Wei giggled and snuggled into Yang Cheng's arms. I suddenly feel much better. Hubby, do you want to have dinner at my house tonight? Yang Cheng hesitated for a moment, then shook his head with a wry smile. Forget it. I think Qianni is fine now. I told you about my cultivation, and it's done. You don't know, back at home, Ruwashi probably hates me to death. I provoked too many people and caused too many problems. It's not like you don't know that I don't have much status in the family. If I don't go home to eat it this time, wouldn't I be asking for death? Qiang Wei smiled tenderly and said, Well, I won't keep you. Although I don't know what happened during the day, it seems that it was not a small matter. If President Lin doesn't allow you to sleep at home, remember to come over. Is there any benefit in coming over? Yang Cheng asked with a teasing smile. Qiang Wei mischievously said, Sure enough, no matter how much I hate you, someone's lustful heart is still not restrained at all. Yang Cheng laughed a few times at Shanshan and stood up. Darling Qiang Wei, I will show you my skills now, even though I'm trying my best not to use my cultivation, but just treat it as giving you some peace of mind. With that, Yang Cheng's figure disappeared into thin air. In the blink of an eye, he had already disappeared from where he stood. Qiang Wei covered her cherry lips, her beautiful eyes filled with surprise. After a long while, the woman gritted her teeth. Her gaze was especially firm. Chapter 781. To Yang Cheng, letting Qiang Wei try to cultivate first was not a decision he had made in the beginning. In terms of cultivation, she had been practicing since young, and her internal energy was close to the threshold of the Xiantian realm. She seemed to be the most suitable candidate. However, what Yang Cheng thought about was that she had been practicing the martial arts of the Tang sect in Sichuan since young. Her internal energy was based on the use of hidden weapons. It was very different from the endless resolve restoration scripture of Mount Shu, which was open and closed and wild cultivation. In other words, if he wanted to guide her, he would need to change a lot of her deep-rooted concepts. Xiangwei was different. Although she had some foundation in martial arts, her cultivation was like a blank piece of paper. In addition, from Yangqing's point of view, Xiangwei's comprehension was not worse than Xiangwei's. Therefore, if he were to guide Xiangwei, even though she had a low starting point, he would have a higher chance of success. When Xiangwei's cultivation showed some improvement, Yangcheng would also dare to let his other female confidants enter an unprecedented realm. He didn't know how long he still had to live. If he stayed young and the women around him all entered their twilight years, his life would be as lonely as snow. Moreover, choosing Xiangwei, who had been by his side since the beginning, was also a deeper recognition for her. When Yangcheng returned home, he didn't dare to appear in the living room. It wouldn't be good if he scared Guo Shuehua and Mother Wang. Instead, he landed in his room, opened the door, and walked downstairs. The living room was already filled with the aroma of dinner. Although he had caused such a ruckus, Jinxiu still had to go home at night. Her child would continue to take exams tomorrow and the day after, so she had to eat well. What made Yangqing feel a little awkward was that Lin Ruoshi had already put on an apron and was carrying the dishes from the kitchen to the dining table. Meanwhile, Jinxiu was sitting on the sofa watching a variety show. The girl didn't seem to know what had happened during the day and was in a relaxed mood. "You're back." Guo Shuehua walked out of the kitchen. When she saw Yangcheng, she smiled as if it was natural. "Sit down, dinner is almost ready." Lin Ruoshi saw Yangcheng and didn't show the slightest expression. She just glanced at him casually and turned to Jinxiu. "Jinxiu, dinner is ready." Jinxiu quickly got up and turned off the TV. She ran to the dining table and saw Yangcheng. She asked curiously, "Brother Yang, what happened in the afternoon?" "Sister Ruoshi didn't tell me." Yangcheng noticed that Lin Ruoshi was looking at him with an incomparably cold gaze. He said knowingly, "Sister Chinny next door isn't feeling well. Nothing else." "Oh." Jinxiu didn't dare to ask too much. She was worried that it would make Lin Ruoshi unhappy. Besides, Lin Ruoshi didn't look much different. Lin Ruoshi confirmed that Yangcheng didn't say anything he shouldn't, so she went back to the kitchen to serve the dishes. She didn't even look at him. Yangcheng lamented in his heart. If it wasn't for Jinxiu's college entrance examination, perhaps Lin Ruoshi wouldn't have given him any face at all. This was also because he took Jinxiu's emotions into consideration, so he pretended that nothing had happened. After the family sat down, they ate dinner as usual. Although they all had a knot in their hearts, they were afraid that it would affect the examinee's performance tomorrow and the day after, so they all pretended that nothing had happened. Coincidentally, they were all good at acting, so they really got through it peacefully. After eating, Lin Ruoshi helped Mother Wang wash the dishes as usual, while Guo Shuehua kindly asked Jinxiu how she did in the exam. Jinxiu was a little nervous when she was asked, and her blank expression made Guo Shuehua burst into laughter. Yangcheng's heart was weighed down by a stone, and he was thinking about how to break the deadlock with Lin Ruoshi. He waited until Lin Ruoshi finished her housework and was about to go upstairs before he followed her upstairs. Walking to the second floor, Yangcheng called out to the woman from behind. "Ruoshi, wait." Lin Ruoshi knew that Yangcheng was behind her, but she had no intention of turning around. She only stopped when she was called. "I know that you won't forgive me easily no matter what I say. I don't want to say anything that will make you unhappy. I just have something that I haven't given you since I came back." Lin Ruoshi turned around, her face as clear as a lake, and her eyes were cold. She said emotionlessly, "What is it?" Yangcheng smiled a little embarrassedly and took out a yellow, flat, round object from his pocket. It was the old pocket watch that he took from the dead FBI Director Robert. Walking to Lin Ruoshi, Yangcheng handed the antique old pocket watch to Lin Ruoshi. "This time, I went to America and brought 2 gifts for you. Originally, I wanted to give you the pink diamond ring, but I was afraid that Chinny would be too upset, so I gave it to her. However, I will definitely keep this pocket watch for you." Yang Qing said with a simple and honest smile. Lin Ruoxi coldly glanced at the pocket watch. It was an old-fashioned, ordinary, and heavy design. There was nothing special about it. Other than the fact that it could still turn, there was nothing luxurious about it. Furthermore, that style was clearly for a man. The corner of Lin Ruoxi's mouth suddenly curled up into a cold smile. Such a good thing. You really want to give it to me? Her tone was filled with sarcasm. Yang Cheng said awkwardly, "This is really a good watch." I snatched it from the hands of that old man from the FBI. Old man? Snatched it? Lin Ruoxi sneered and shook her head. You want to give me a watch? Do you have to tell me about the FBI? I know you're very capable. You can even casually give me a diamond ring worth tens of millions. How could I not like what you gave me? After saying that, Lin Ruoxi took the pocket watch from Yang Cheng's hand and held it in her hand. However, she was too lazy to even look at it. She sneered and said, I really have to thank you, my dear husband. Fortunately, you gave me a watch and not a clock. In the end, Lin Ruoxi's eyes reddened. She bit her lower lip and glared at Yang Cheng. Then, she turned around and walked back to the study room, slamming the door with a bang. Yang Cheng stood there speechlessly. He sighed dejectedly and muttered to himself, That watch is really not bad. Lin Ruoxi, who had just returned to the study room, had just closed the door when she leaned against the back of the door. She raised her head, and 2 streams of tears flowed down her cheeks. When he saw a man give another woman a diamond ring while driving in the afternoon, he really wanted to die. Although he also sympathized with that woman, and he also hoped that his best friend, who had grown up together with him, could be happy. Why did he choose the same man? He blamed himself countless times. If only he hadn't indulged that man in the first place. But the heavens just loved to joke around. Lin Ruoxi only knew that her mind was in a mess. She couldn't tell if she was wronged, hated, or was something else. In short, when she saw that man, she couldn't wait to bite him until he bled. Lin Ruoxi had even thought that perhaps divorce was really a form of relief. However, if he chose to divorce, wouldn't that be admitting that he had lost? Losing to those other women and giving away their man. They should all be looking forward to the day when they would laugh at her for being useless behind her back. She couldn't even keep a man. How could he admit defeat to those women? Lin Ruoxi immediately rejected his own thoughts. Even if he cursed that stinky man in his heart for the rest of his life, he definitely wouldn't let him enjoy it comfortably. Lin Ruoxi comforted herself like this, but she also felt that she still couldn't bear to grabbing the hard thing in her hand. Lin Ruoxi lowered her head and looked at the old pocket watch that the man had given her. The antique metal pocket watch was heavy and cold. Lin Ruoxi suddenly felt that this watch was like her heart at this moment. It was working, but it was cold and hard. Silently, Lin Ruoxi held the old pocket watch over her heart. Yang Cheng didn't know that the pocket watch that he had given to Lin Ruoxi would make the woman think so much. For him, at this time, he couldn't think of any other way to quickly resolve the estrangement between them. He could only use the all-purpose antidote of time. After returning to his room, Yang Cheng took a cold shower and lay on the bed. He began to think about how to give Qiang Wei the start of her cultivation. Back then, Song Tianxing was the one who had guided him to start cultivating the endless resolve restoration scripture. Yang Cheng wasn't proud of the difficulty of this technique. Not everyone could understand it. If he let Qiang Wei cultivate it, the effect would definitely be minimal, and Qiang Wei might not even be able to understand it. In addition, he had already cultivated the endless resolve restoration scripture for more than 10 years. In between, there was also the divine light that transformed his body and the epiphanies that he had experienced between life and death. So he had today's achievements. If he let Qiang Wei learn it now, without any fortuitous encounters, she might not be able to see any results even after a few decades. Therefore, Yang Cheng felt that he should think of a more orthodox technique to let Qiang Wei enter the innate stage as soon as possible. As long as she entered the innate stage, her lifespan would increase tremendously, and all kinds of cultivation paths would open up. In the past, Yang Cheng felt that the innate stage was already a relatively high level. But now, although he didn't know what level he was at, Yangcheng didn't think that it was difficult to reach the innate stage. What he needed was a safe and appropriate theoretical system. As for whether or not she could enter the demigod stage after the innate stage, it would depend on her own comprehension, just like how Yin San Yang couldn't help him back then. After thinking about it, Yang Cheng felt that it would be better to look at some other cultivation manuals. As for the person who could tell him the way, it seemed like the most suitable person was Abbess Yin Miao, who was far away in Beijing. Although Yang Cheng wasn't willing to talk to the Taoist nun, he bit the bullet and found Abbess Yin Miao's number and dialed it. Chapter 782. Not long after, Yin Miao picked up the phone, but obviously, even she was a little confused as to why Yang Cheng suddenly took the initiative to call her. "What's the matter?" Yin Miao asked faintly. Yang Cheng laughed awkwardly. "I want to ask about something, but I think the only one who knows better is you, so I'm sorry to bother you." It's rare for you to ask me for help. Just say it. Don't beat around the bush," Yin Miao chuckled. "It's like this, I plan to start teaching people to cultivate. It's the goal of reaching the Xiantian realm, starting from the basic inner force, but I only know the endless resolve restoration scripture, which obviously can't be learned by everyone. So I want to ask if there are other inner force methods. I get some for reference," Yang Cheng chuckled. Yin Miao hesitated for a while. "Don't tell me the people you want to teach are your women. Abbess, how do you know this?" Yang Cheng was stunned. Yin Miao said disdainfully. "With your virtue, other than for the women around you, why would you be so kind as to think of ways to guide others to cultivate? That's a thankless task." Hee. "Abbess really knows me, but where can I get inner force? By the way, didn't you say that you came from Shu Mountain? Where is the Shu Mountain sect? Is there a place to store inner force books?" Yang Cheng asked with a smile. Yin Miao sighed softly. "Yes, of course there is. Other than the endless resolve restoration scripture, which is passed down orally from generation to generation, other martial arts are mostly recorded in books. However, because of the sparse population in our Shu Mountain sect in the past 100 years, the sect has long been moved from Mount Amei. When I practiced martial arts with Senior Brother, it wasn't in the real Shu Mountain sect. In the past 10 years, I brought Hui'er to cultivate in Amei, and we just use a Taoist temple." Yang Cheng was stunned. So this Shu Mountain sect was just an empty shell. Only Song Tianxing and Yun Miao were left. "Abbess, aren't you kidding me? How can this be called a sect?" Yin Miao snorted. "Why? So what if there are fewer people?" Huaxia's ancient martial arts had declined. Only Kunlun sect, Shaolin Temple, Mao Mountain, and other sects with a large number of people were left. Although the other sects had ancient scriptures passed down from ancient times, there were too few people who had the ability to comprehend and could endure hardship. Many of them had withered away. Even if only Senior Brother and I were left of our Shushan lineage, our Shushan secret arts are not inferior to any other sect. What's there to be ashamed of? Yang Cheng was at a loss. Then where are those ancient books stored? What's the hurry? I was just about to say it. Abbess Yun Miao said slowly. Actually, you shouldn't be looking for me. You should be looking for the Kai family's Ning girl, Flower Rain. Ning, not bad, Yin Miao said. In our Sichuan lineage, most of the sect scriptures are directly stored in the Tang sect of Sichuan, which is also known as the Tang Fortress. It can be said that the Tang Fortress is the gathering place for all the sects in Sichuan. There are no distinctions between the sects in Sichuan. As long as one passes the screening and is accepted into the sect, he or she will be taught different techniques according to his or her aptitude. Back then, Kai Ning entered the Tang sect at the age of 11 because her aptitude was indeed suitable for the Tang sect's techniques and hidden weapons. Otherwise, I would have accepted her into Shushan as well. That girl's aptitude is extremely high. Even if she were to cultivate the nebulous sword technique that I'm proficient in and the Shushan sword cultivator's internal force, she would still be able to shine. Through Abbess Yin Miao's explanation, Yangqing finally had a general understanding of the ancient martial arts of Huaxia. Because of the changes in the past few hundred years, there were fewer and fewer people who could calm down and not be tempted by the outside world. Moreover, there were very few who could cultivate to a high level, so it was inevitable that the ancient martial arts would decline. Although the various sects had their own inheritances, They couldn't form their own sects like in the past. In addition to the current Huaxia, the ancient martial arts sects mostly provided the core fighting power of the Yellow Flame, Iron Brigade. Therefore, they were directly linked to the expert training that the country needed. The government of Huaxia secretly provided all sorts of support in terms of resources and policies. They also helped select talented children with good backgrounds to enter the various sects to cultivate. For example, Kai Ning and Yang Lai were among the outstanding ones. The advantage of this was that there were no conflicts between the various sections. Everyone provided talents for the country, and the country allowed the various sects to continue passing on their skills. It was the best of both worlds. However, in order to not affect the stability of society, the ancient martial arts sects gradually disappeared from the masses. This became a reality. After listening, Yang Cheng asked, "Does this mean that I have to make a trip to the Tang Fortress in Sichuan?" Yin Miao said, "Of course, it depends on what kind of books you want to read. Most of the books in the Tang sect are martial arts books from the various sects around Amei that specialize in attacking. There are also special skills from the Five Poison sect and other sects, as well as the strange internal energy of the Tang sect that is used with hidden weapons. Kunlun, on the other hand, mainly uses Taoism to nurture qi. They have books from Qingcheng, Wudong, and other sections. Then there's Shaolin Temple, which has Buddhist techniques. Mao Mountain has cultivation methods supplemented with pills, as well as the art of Qimen Dun Jia. In short, there are many books passed down since ancient times. The key is what you want your woman to learn." Yang Qing laughed and said, "What's the big deal? I have a photographic memory anyway. At most, I'll look through all of them and choose a fast and powerful one for my woman." "You, what's wrong with that pig brain of yours?" Yin Miao suddenly said angrily. Yang Cheng frowned. "Abbess, I respect you, but you can't just call me a pig. Just because I didn't listen to you and didn't want to be your grandson-in-law, you can't be so vengeful." Yin Miao almost choked on her anger. She took a few deep breaths and said, "I really don't get it. You rascal, how could you cultivate to such a high level? Do you think internal energy is child's play? Do you think that internal energy cultivation is something that anyone can do? Different martial arts have different attributes and characteristics. Some people's physiques are destined to be unsuitable for it. If you force them to cultivate, it will only lead to qi deviation. Do you think that my senior imparted the endless resolve restoration scripture to you out of boredom? That's because your physique and aptitude are suitable for that godly martial art. Moreover, do you think that those books are something that anyone can read? Do you know that the amazing martial arts of many sects are treasured books that are coveted by many foreign forces? Since ancient times, I, Huaxia, have established my foothold on the world's best martial arts left by my predecessors. How can I let you read them whenever you want? They have to go through layers of checks and tests before deciding whether or not you can enter the Sutra Pavilion to read the martial arts of the sections." "Oh," Yang Cheng mumbled, "I understand now. Abbess, you mean that I have to beat them all up before I can enter?" You pig brain. What the hell are you thinking?" Yun Miao was about to explode as she screamed over the phone. Yang Cheng looked at Shan Shan innocently and said, "What do I mean? If you force your way in, even if your cultivation surpasses all of them, how is that any different from a bandit? Hongmeng does not care about the secular world. So those martial arts masters are the mainstays of Huaxia's world of martial arts. If you hurt them, it's no different from helping the enemy destroy Huaxia. Therefore, to be on the safe side, I'm asking you to look for Kai Ning. That girl is the cream of the crop in the Tang sect. Her master, Tang Lui, dotes on her very much. Tang Lui is the younger sister of the Tang sect's leader, and her cultivation is not any lower than mine. When I met her many years ago, she was already at the doorstep of the Xiantian realm. After so many years, she must be a Xiantian realm master. If you can convince her to help you, everything will be much easier." "Xiantian realm?" Yang Cheng asked curiously. "Abbess, I remember hearing from the Dragon Division that there hasn't been a Xiantian realm master for many years before I appeared, right? What do you know? Do you think those Xiantian realm masters wander around every day? Furthermore, Most of the Dragon Division are from the military, so they don't know much about the martial arts world. In fact, every sect has a few Xiantian realm masters, but they don't want to reveal it, so they cultivate in secret, hoping to cross the threshold. Senior Ling Su Zi from Hongming only knew that he had entered the Xiantian realm not long before he disappeared. He has been hiding it for many years. Yang Cheng was just asking casually. To him, the number of Xiantian realm masters did not matter. Of course, he would not say this out loud, unless he met someone from Hongming. Otherwise, there was no need for him to risk attracting the heavenly tribulations and unleash too much of his cultivation. It was better to be safe than sorry. Since Hongming's appearance had caught him off guard, who could be sure that there were no stronger experts above Hongming? Preserving one's strength was always beneficial. After clarifying the situation, Yang Cheng thanked Abbess Miao and hung up the phone. Since Abbess Miao said that bringing Kai Ning to the Tang sect would be of great help, Yang Cheng was more than happy to do so. Not only would it save him trouble, it would also be good to spend more time with Kai Ning to deepen their relationship. Furthermore, Yang Cheng's heart was itching. He had yet to settle the matter with the sisters. Just as he was about to give Kai Ning a call, he received a text. It was from his sister, Choi Yun. Wei Tingo insisted on bringing me to the Western District's Tequila Clubhouse for a drink. I can't reject him since we have so many friends. We'll be there in 20 minutes, and I might get drunk. Yang Cheng's scalp went numb. He gritted his teeth. Damn it, he was already feeling stifled because of Lin Ruashi, and now that pretty boy was trying to poach him. Chapter 783. Yang Cheng couldn't be bothered to give her a call as he got up, grabbed a shirt and a pair of shorts from the side, put them on, and dashed out of the balcony. Not long after, Yang Cheng sped towards the West Side Tequila Clubhouse. Because it was a well-known upper-class clubhouse, Yang Cheng didn't even need to do a search to recognize it. Wei Tingo was a man of status after all, so he naturally wouldn't go to a regular bar. Even if he wanted a drink, he had to find a place that looked elegant. It was just the beginning of the nightlife, and the streets were bustling with life. Neon lights flashed everywhere, and there were a few scantily dressed girls swaying along the streets. Yang Cheng wasn't in the mood to look at the exposed white thighs and perky breasts. He kept overtaking other cars, and by the time he reached the clubhouse's parking lot, it only took him less than 15 minutes. Just as he was about to get out of the car, Yang Cheng saw a shiny black Infiniti QX56 enter the parking lot. When he realized it was in the car, Yang Cheng quietly closed the door and hid in the car with a strange smile on his face. When he opened the car door, it was Choi Yun, who had changed out of her police uniform into a red tasseled shirt and gray cotton shorts. The policewoman's outfit accentuated her long, supple legs. Just her energetic figure alone was enough to make anyone's eyes light up. The one driving the luxury car was Wei Tingo, who was wearing a striped short-sleeved shirt and tight-fitting jeans. He had a slightly arrogant smile on his face, as if he was here to make the place proud. After getting out of the car, Choi Yun subconsciously looked around to see if Yang Cheng was there, but when she didn't see him, a trace of disappointment appeared in her eyes. "Yenair, what are you looking at? Your old-school friends must be getting anxious," Wei Tingo said with a gentle and refined expression. "Uh-huh." Choi Yun forced a smile, nodded, and followed Wei Tingo to the clubhouse's entrance. Since they were all classmates in the police academy, and most of them were now holding important positions in the government and public security departments, Choi Yun couldn't refuse to meet them. Wei Tingo tried to reach out to hold Choi Yun's hand, but Choi Yun silently placed her hand in front of her, not giving him a chance. Wei Tingo pretended to be nonchalant, but a trace of disdain flashed across his eyes. He wasn't in a hurry, however. He still had many more days to go, and there would be a chance for him to get his hands on this flower that he had been yearning for ever since he was abroad. The harder it was to touch, the sweeter it would taste. However, before Wei Tingo could reach the entrance of the club, he suddenly felt a strange tingling sensation in his lower abdomen. He was fine just a moment ago, but he suddenly realized that he really needed to pee. Wei Tingo was dumbfounded. His bladder was expanding at a speed that he could feel. Immediately, Wei Tingo froze on the spot, not daring to take a single step forward. He was afraid that he'd lose control of his pee. Senior, what's wrong? Choi Yun curiously turned around to look at Wei Tingo, whose face was pale and lips were trembling. Wei Tingo clutched his abdomen, taking in a few breaths of cold air. My stomach isn't feeling well. Choi Yun was at a loss for words. Just a moment ago, he was still so handsome. Why did he suddenly look so bitter? Senior, are you all right? Do you want to go to the toilet? Choi Yun looked at Wei Tingo's twisted face, wanting to laugh out loud, but feeling that it wasn't appropriate. Wei Tingo frowned in pain. I am afraid that if I move, something will happen. Wei Tingo's body was already beginning to curl up, and if he didn't, he felt that the door wouldn't close. There was even a trace of wetness in the crotch of his trousers. This was the main entrance of the clubhouse, and there were always guests entering and exiting. The security guard at the entrance were also well-trained veterans, constantly monitoring the situation outside. At this moment, two security guards in suits noticed Wei Tingo's unusual behavior. Concerned, they walked up to him and asked, "Sir, is there anything wrong with you? Do you need any help?" It would have been better if the security guard hadn't asked, but Wei Tingo could feel his stomach churning once more. Gradually, other than his bladder, even his intestines and rectum began to bulge, as if they were about to explode at any moment. Wei Tingo's face turned ashen, and his eyeballs nearly popped out of their sockets. Before the two security guards could even approach, Wei Tingo let out a blood-curdling scream. Ow, wow! A scalding hot liquid spurted out of Wei Tingo's crotch and quickly flowed down his trousers to his heels. His shoes and the floor began to emit a foul stench, and some even splashed onto his shoes before spreading further. No matter how carefree Choi Yun was, she was still a girl. Seeing a man peeing his pants in front of her, she screamed in shock and quickly backed away, afraid of being caught in the crossfire. The two security guards were dumbfounded. What was going on? This guy actually peed his pants in front of a high-class clubhouse. Due to the commotion, many passers-by and guests in and out of the clubhouse turned to look. When they realized that it was a dignified man peeing his pants, everyone, regardless of gender, was shocked at first, but soon began to mock him. Oh my God, today's money was well spent. Since when did tequila's entrance become so glamorous? Mommy, that uncle peed his pants at his age. Shoo, he's probably a lunatic who escaped from a mental hospital. The incessant mockery caused Wei Tingo's heart to sink. He didn't even have the time to think about what was going on. All he wanted was to find a hole to hide in. But that wasn't the end of it. Just as the two security guards were about to move Wei Tingo away from the stall to prevent him from affecting their business, Wei Tingo's stomach began to rumble loudly. The two security guards were stunned, and they knew that this wasn't good. As expected, a series of disgusting sounds of air and water mixing together. In Wei Tingo's panic, the gate in front of him opened, and the door behind him also opened wide. This time, not only was his crotch filled with liquid, but even his stock from the past few days was also stuffed into his crotch. The two security guards were also human, and after running away, they couldn't help but curse. F***, he looks like he's a human, but he's actually a vegetable. What's wrong with him? Why don't we call the cops? Wei Tingo felt like dying. He was the son of the head of the Public Security Bureau, an Interpol officer, and yet he was incontinent in front of so many people, and in front of the woman he wanted. But obviously, this wasn't the time for him to think about such things. More and more people were crowding around, pointing fingers and laughing at the spectacle. Wei Tingo's face was drained of blood as he looked left and right, and when he saw Choi Yun standing some distance away, he begged, Yin-air, help me. Don't come near me. Choi Yun had already guessed that this was the work of a bad guy, and so she played along, putting on a terrified expression as she ran away, not letting Wei Tingo near her. Many men and women who claimed to be celebrities were shouting at the security guards at the scene of the tequila. What's wrong with your club? Even a lunatic can come in here? This place is so smelly. Are you even going to let us in? Hurry up and send this lunatic to the hospital. What if he pisses on my darling? The security guards heard the commotion outside and ran out. The club manager, who had been notified, also ran out in a panic. Seeing that the situation wasn't right, he yelled, "What are you guys waiting for? Hurry up and take this lunatic away. Send him to the mental hospital. Don't you dare touch me. I'm not a lunatic. I'm from Interpol." Interpol. Wei Tingo screamed, but as he screamed, the feces and urine in his stomach continued to gush out, and the sound of his farts rang out incessantly. This was the most conclusive evidence that this was a lunatic who had escaped from the mental hospital. Interpol. Haha, he really is a lunatic. The crowd began to jeer loudly. For the sake of their jobs, the security guards couldn't care less about the stench as they rushed forward to drag Wei Tingo away. But Wei Tingo was someone who had undergone international special forces training. If he didn't have some skills, he wouldn't have been sent to Huaxia to carry out a mission alone. Although these security guards were retired soldiers, they couldn't even get close to Wei Tingo in a few moves. The club manager was infuriated. Wasn't this a blatant display to the guests that the club's security was inadequate? If you don't catch this lunatic, you'll lose your salary for this month. Under the stimulation of money, the security guards immediately used all their strength. Mother Faster, I don't believe we can't handle you. Brothers, let's go. The security guards gave it their all, using the punches and kicks they had learned in the military. Gradually, they got the hang of it and managed to confine Wei Tingo to a small area. But at that moment, the goods in Wei Tingo's pants began to fall out from his vigorous movements. Every time Wei Tingo kicked his leg, yellowish-brown filth would fly out from his trousers. It was a foul stench that filled the air. A woman's scream rang out as a small piece of Wei Tingo's feces landed on a woman's face. Chapter 784. This time, the scene completely boiled over. How could this person who was pissing and shitting be an ordinary lunatic? He was a monster lunatic, and he was even a dung beetle. That wasn't the end of it. After a woman was hit, the other guests also had their clothes and pants stained by the spilled loot. The security guards were completely enraged. These customers had spent a lot of money to come here. Wasn't this smashing the shop signboard? As more and more people paid attention to it, many guests who were originally in the club also rushed out to watch the show. Wei Tingo and Kai Yan's old classmates were already waiting for them inside. When they saw that the pervert who had caused the entire clubhouse to go into a frenzy was actually their long-awaited spiritual leader, they couldn't help but be taken aback. Isn't that Senior Wei Tingo? How did he? Let's pretend we don't know each other. I think Senior Wei is under a lot of pressure at work and has some mental problems. Why don't we run away first? A few men and women who had intended to curry favor with Wei Tingo silently retreated to the back. Wei Tingo gritted his teeth in anger, but he was no longer in the mood to explain himself. The only thing on his mind was to escape. With a powerful flying kick, Wei Tingo fended off the security guards. Without bothering with Choi Yun, he dashed back to the parking lot, intending to drive off first. Behind him was a large crowd of people shouting and cursing, women and children crying. The security guards chased after him with all their might, not caring about the feces and urine on their faces and bodies. They wanted nothing more than to skin this lunatic. But when Wei Tingo reached the parking lot, he was left dumbfounded. The car was gone. The black Infiniti SUV was still parked there, but it suddenly disappeared. Obviously, it had been driven away, but the car keys were clearly on him. Subconsciously, Wei Tingo reached into his pocket and was dumbfounded. The pocket of the jeans was still there, but the car key was gone. Wei Tingo found it hard to believe. Even though the fight was intense, the key shouldn't have fallen out, right? Besides, he should have noticed it himself. Before he could think further, the security guards had already pounced on him. This time, Wei Tingo had nowhere to hide and was pinned to the ground by a group of retired soldiers. Let me go. Let me go. I'm Interpol. Oh. How could the security guards believe him? One of them took off his suit jacket and covered him up. Only then did the commotion die down. No matter how much Wei Tingo screamed, the security guards knocked him out with a palm strike and sent him to the mental hospital. After cleaning up in front of the clubhouse, the crowd dispersed. After Choi Yun negotiated with a few panicked alumni, no one wanted to stay any longer and drove home. After everyone left, the black infinity that had disappeared suddenly drove out from a parking space in the distance, and then slowly stopped in front of Choi Yun. The car door was open from the inside. Sitting in the driver's seat was Yang Chung, who had finished directing a scene and was beaming with pride. Choi Yun rolled her eyes flirtatiously at the man as she slid into the car and closed the door. "I knew it was you, you scoundrel. Why didn't you show up when you were already here? Hiding behind my back and messing with me. That way Tingo is really going to lose face this time. I bet he won't even dare to tell his parents about this. If Interpol were to find out about this, they'd probably dump him." Choi Yun might be criticizing Yang Chung, but her tone was filled with joy. Wei Tingo may have been her senior, but after meeting him for the past few days, she felt that he was a hypocrite and arrogant. There was nothing likable about him at all. He was always trying to take advantage of her. If not for his job and identity, she wouldn't have liked him so much. Of course, this also had to do with the fact that the man she chose was too different from him. Yang Chun started the car and drove towards the main road. He said, "There's something fishy about this. He'll just suffer a little and be released soon. The Interpol will only think that he was framed. It's not as if they'll abandon him." Choi Yun nodded and asked curiously, "Darling, can you tell me how you did it?" Yang Chung raised an eyebrow as he pointed to his right cheek. Choi Yun understood and leaned forward to plant a kiss on the man's cheek. Yang Chun said happily, "It's actually nothing much. I just mobilized the qi and blood in his body and continuously stimulated his zhongji, guanyuan, and kidney acupoints. Then I stimulated his dashang, higu, yinxiang, and tsuchi acupoints. These acupoints are all used for excretion. As long as I continuously stimulate them at the same time, it would be strange if he didn't lose control." Choi Yun blinked her eyes in anticipation. "Is that also internal energy? Is it the kind that big sister knows?" Yang Chung shook his head. "It can't be considered internal energy. I'm not sure what kind of ability I'm using. In short, I just know how to do it, and I can't tell why. Ning Er, she can't do it with her current cultivation. What about the key? When did you take the key?" Choi Yun asked again. Yang Chung stretched out his right hand, waved it in front of the woman's eyes, and grabbed at the air. Suddenly, a key with a small red Swiss Army knife pendant appeared in his hand out of thin air, as if it was a close-range magic trick. Choi Yun looked at it in shock for a while, then touched her hot pants pocket. Isn't this my key? How did you do it?" Yang Chung shrugged. "Didn't I say that I don't know myself? In short, I somehow learned it." Choi Yun pouted enviously. "If only I could be as good as you. When I catch criminals, I don't have to be afraid of guns and bullets. It's so easy." Yang Chung didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "You woman, why don't you hang some cute little things on your key? It's fine if it's a Swiss Army knife, but why do you have to be so obsessed with the police? I'd rather you be busy doing business like Ruashi than to see you deal with criminals in public." "Humph," Choi Yun said unwillingly. "Your wife is the best. Although I'm a small police officer and only get a civil servant salary every month, this is my career dream. When I was young, I wanted to make my family proud and share my sister's burden. Now, I really like this career. Every time I catch those bad guys, I feel a sense of accomplishment." Yang Chung reached out to pinch the woman's face. "I'm not looking down on you. Just don't hurt yourself. If you encounter any danger, tell me immediately. If you get hurt because of work, then I won't let you continue working even if I smash the police station." Choi Yun pursed her red lips, tilted her head, and asked, "Really? What's true? If I get hurt, will you really smash the police station?" Choi Yun asked. Yang Chung chuckled. "Do you think I don't dare? Don't you know, Yonyan, that your man, I, am the biggest criminal in the world? It's just that. No one can catch me." Choi Yun giggled. "Although I'll definitely be very angry if you do that. I'm very happy to hear you say that. Do all women like to listen to unrealistic sweet words?" Choi Yun took back the keys from Yang Chung and smiled. "I don't know about others, but I like it." Yang Chung reached out and put his arm around the woman's shoulder, letting Choi Yun get as close to him as possible. He turned his head slightly and breathed into Choi Yun's ear. "Yonyan, I made you happy, so you should make me happy too." Choi Yun's crystal earlobes were burning hot, and she murmured, "How can I make you happy? I'll drive you to an interesting place now. It'll take at least half an hour. Just stay in the car for me." Yang Chung murmured a bunch of intimate words. At the end of his words, Choi Yun suddenly shook her head hard and said with a red face, "No way. What if someone sees us? Wouldn't it be so embarrassing?" Yang Chung was stunned. "I thought you would reject me directly." Choi Yun pouted. "As a mistress, how can I reject you? Besides, it's not the first time I've slept with you. Union baby, why don't you think about it? If someone sees us, the first person who'll be unhappy is me. How can I be willing to let others see us? Are you still worried about my ability?" Yang Chung smiled bewitchingly. Choi Yun hesitated and bit her thin pink lips. Her cheeks were full of shyness. At this time, the car just happened to be on a ring highway. Yang Chen manually adjusted the car's speed to the automatic cruise mode before releasing the accelerator and shifting the seat back a little. The interior of the Infinity car was not small, not to mention that the QX56 was a luxury car. After the leather seat was moved back, there was a lot of space in the front. Yang Chung leaned his legs to the side, revealing a large space between his legs. Choi Yun coyly revealed a trace of pleading. "It's so embarrassing. How about you drive, and I'll make you happy?" "I'm not afraid of embarrassing myself," Yang Chung said with an evil smile. Choi Yun's pretty face instantly became hot. Her eyes were full of lust, and she muttered a few times, "Let me do it. That's even more embarrassing." After that, the woman nimbly crawled from the passenger seat to Yang Chung. Then she drilled her lower body down, and her entire delicate body drilled between Yang Cheng's legs. Yang Chung was wearing a pair of shorts. At this time, there was no traffic on the highway, so he didn't need to hold onto the steering wheel. So, he quickly took off the shorts, and his lower body was completely naked. Cayenne had a love-hate relationship with this reckless man. How could he even come up with such a trick to drive? However, she had a trace of wildness in her bones, and secretly felt that it was rather exciting. Because of that, she agreed to Yang Chen's ridiculous idea with a half-hearted and half-hesitant attitude. Soon, in front of Choi Yun, only Yang Cheng's valiant big guy was left. It seemed that there was still a trace of heat in the dark. Yang Chung opened his legs, but was sitting on the leather seat. He held the steering wheel with one hand, and the other hand gently stroked his lover's face. "Yonyan, we will arrive at our destination in about 25 minutes. Before that, I believe you can complete the difficult task." Choi Yun resentfully rolled her eyes at him. "If the place you take me to isn't fun, I'll bite off your bad thing. TSK, TSK. You're so domineering even when you're acting coquettishly. I really like you more and more. But let's hurry up." Oh. Without waiting for Yang Chung to finish, Choi Yun had already grabbed the hot long thing with one hand, opened her moist red lips in the dark, and swallowed it. Next to the brightly lit metropolis, a black luxury car drove along the highway towards the distant southeast. No one would have thought that the scenery inside the car would be so lively and fragrant. Chapter 785. In a vast night sky, the stars converged to form a boundless Milky Way. Under the starry sky, there were boundless waves. The ink-like seawater endlessly poured out a rhythm that had never changed since ancient times. The beach was soft and fine. Among the light yellow sand, there were occasionally seaweed and shells pushed up by the tide, filling the entire beach with a hint of the smell of the sea. This was a beach of a fishing village by the sea outside the southeast city of Zhonghai. According to the rules of Huaxia, fishing was often closed from June to September, so it was especially quiet here. Under the bright moonlight, a man and a woman in cool clothes, holding hands, left a long line of shallow footprints on the beach. They were Yang Chung and Choi Yun, who had just come here for a walk in the sea breeze. When he had just returned to China, Yang Chung would occasionally come here alone for a night to think about his friends overseas, think about all the things that had happened in the past, and let himself settle everything he saw during the day so that he could better integrate into the domestic society. But ever since he married Lin Ruoshi, he had not come here again. Yang Chung also did not know why he suddenly brought a woman here for a walk. According to his previous thoughts, he should have run to a woman's place to have sex when only Choi Yun was alone in Zhonghai. But on this charming night, Yang Chung did not do so. Choi Yun also did not expect to be in such a place. When she got out of the car and ran to the beach, she had completely forgotten about the blushing and heartbeat along the way. Only the empty sea view in front of her was fascinating. Such a contrast made Choi Yun feel a little incredulous. After walking for a few miles, Yang Chung did not say much, as if he was a little lost in thought. Choi Yun accompanied the man, but did not feel bored. Instead, she felt that such a quiet Yang Chung gave her a sense of novelty that she had never experienced before. She even felt that perhaps this scoundrel who seemed to be laughing on the surface was really like this. Suddenly, Yang Chung stopped beside a rock by the sea. He turned his head and asked, "We've walked quite a distance. Aren't you going to ask why I brought you here?" Choi Yun smiled and shook her head. "Since you brought me here, you'll definitely tell me, won't you?" Yang Chung chuckled and held the woman's shoulder with one hand. He turned to face the sea and let Choi Yun lean on his shoulder. "I'm not afraid of you laughing at me. Originally, I wanted to drive to the beach with you and do something I love in the car." Choi Yun glanced at the man and said sourly, "You're so romantic." Yang Chung laughed self-deprecatingly. "You know I'm very vulgar, but when I suddenly arrived, I wanted to walk with you when I saw the beach. I didn't have the mood to do those things anymore." "Because you have something on your mind?" "I guess so. It's because of Ruashi," Choi Yun said with certainty. Yang Chung was stunned. "Why are you so sure? Don't tell me that I won't do it for my mother, for your sister, for you. Come on, the probability is so small that it's negligible." Choi Yun snorted and said, "Do you think I don't know you? You can coax anyone, but you can't do anything to Ruashi." Yang Chung sighed. "It's not that I can't coax her. It's just that I always feel that coaxing her is like drinking poison to quench thirst. I can give her everything I can. The only thing I can't do is to be devoted to her." Choi Yun said sourly, "Don't you think it's hypocritical to say how much you love your wife in front of me? Moreover, I'll be jealous." "Huh." Yang Chung rubbed the woman's shoulders. "I'm not a good person to begin with, but I'm not hypocritical. If I were hypocritical, I would tell her in front of Ruashi that she's my one and only. When facing you, I would say that you're my favorite. Sometimes I also think that if I didn't tell her so bluntly that I couldn't give up on you guys for her, then the family wouldn't always be in conflict. But I don't want to do that. She is a smart woman. She must know in her heart that lying to her would only be a greater disrespect to her. I think no matter how big the conflict between two people is, if they are honest with each other, there will always be a way to resolve it. However, every time she's sat in front of me, I feel that it's like a dead knot that can't be untied, making me unable to resist it at all." Choi Yun turned her head and asked worriedly, "Yang Chung, what's wrong with you? Did something special happen today?" Yang Chung pondered for a moment, but didn't hide anything. He told her about the misunderstanding he had with Mo Chinny in the afternoon, the conflict that broke out because of the ring, and so on. After Choi Yun heard this, her eyes became moist. "You're so biased. Just because you made Chinny misunderstand, you gave her a big diamond ring. Why didn't you give me one?" "That's not the point. It's just that I just happened to have that one on me. At that time, I didn't know how to comfort Chinny in any other way. If you like it, I'll get it for you. It's not that expensive," Yang Chung said with a wry smile. "I don't want it." Choi Yun rolled her eyes at him. "A diamond ring worth more than 10 million US dollars. If it was exchanged for Huaxia dollars, it would be close to 100 million. If you give it to me, I'm afraid you'll lose it. It's not like you can wear it out. It's the same as not having it. You might as well accompany me more." Yang Chung shook his head speechlessly. A woman's mind was really hard to understand, but it was very cute. The two of them silently watched the sea for a while and listened to the sound of the tide. Leisurely, Choi Yun forcefully drilled into Yang Cheng's shoulder and said, "Sometimes, I feel that being your lover is much more comfortable than being your wife." "What do you mean?" Although I can't see you every day, at least I don't have to feel too sad that you have other women. I don't need to care if you come home at night. I don't need to care if you have dinner together. I don't need to care if my mother-in-law pitted me. I don't need to be proud in front of you. And I don't need to express my meaningless dissatisfaction for the hateful things you have done." Yangcheng listened carefully. In the end, he couldn't help but tighten his grip on Choi Yun. Being my wife? Is it really that bad? Not all of it. Choi Yun suddenly raised her head and walked in front of Yangcheng. She stared at the man affectionately and smiled. Although being your wife will always feel the betrayal of disloyalty, feel the cruelty of your passion, and even be driven crazy by your overflowing emotions. Whether it's me, my sister, Chinny, or the other women by your side, I think everyone is envious of the fact that Ruashi is your wife. Yangcheng looked at the woman in confusion. Why? Isn't it a very painful thing to be my wife? For a bastard like me. If it wasn't for the fact that no one has been able to kill me until now, I reckon that many years ago, whether it was the women by my side or the enemies, I would have long since turned my bones into ashes. Don't you understand? Kaiyin smiled miserably. Although you love us, when we are sad, you will only think of ways to dote on us and coax us. Don't you understand? However, when Ruashi is in pain, you're in pain as well. It's just that you don't dare to face it because you are in pain at the same time. Of course, you don't know how to comfort her immediately. The deeper the love, the more pain there will be. Because you love Ruashi more than any of us, when you treat her, you are at a loss for what to do. You are afraid that if you say one more word, you will make her even more sad. However, it is the kind of love that can be carved into one's bones and engraved in one's heart that women foolishly yearn for. Do you understand? The woman's words were mixed with the sound of the tide, echoing in his ears. Yangcheng's eyes reddened as he looked at the woman with sparkling eyes in front of him. He felt a suffocating feeling in his heart. After a long while, Yangcheng smiled in relief. Yonyan, I thought you were in a hurry and wouldn't think too much about such things. These words seemed to be something that only your sister would say to me. A trace of rebuke flashed across Choi Yun's eyes. I'm not as smart as my sister, but at least I'm not too stupid. Otherwise, how would I solve the case? I'm sorry, I should have made you happy, but I didn't expect to bring you to the seaside to make you cry. Yangcheng reached out his hand to gently wipe away the tears at the corner of the woman's eyes and said gently, Then shouldn't you compensate me? Choi Yun suddenly asked mischievously. Yangcheng was stunned. How are you going to compensate me? Make me happy. What? Do you want a ring? Aya. Choi Yun pouted coquettishly, her body tightly pressed against Yangcheng's body, the pair of plump breasts rubbing against each other. Just now, I made you happy in the car. You have to make me happy too. Yangcheng suddenly came to a realization and laughed. Looks like my Yonian has tasted the marrow. I'll make you happy until dawn. With that, Yangcheng lifted Choi Yun up with one hand. Ignoring the woman's screams, he let the woman's waist hang on his shoulder, while his other hand nimbly pulled down Choi Yun's hot pants to her ankles. Choi Yun's body was not light to begin with, but in Yangcheng's hands, it was as light as a feather. For a moment, Choi Yun only felt a chill on her buttocks. Even that bit of cover was pushed down to her ankles, and her entire lower body was exposed to the air. Yeah, you're not going to do it here. Yangcheng chuckled and said, It's a waste of time to rush back to the car. Let's start from where we are. As he spoke, Yangcheng put down the naked Choi Yun, took off his pants, and stuffed them into Choi Yun's hands, allowing the woman to hold on to them. Without waiting for Choi Yun to come back to her senses, Yangcheng picked her up again. However, this time, Choi Yun's pair of elastic legs were sandwiched around Yangcheng's waist. The hard muscles on Yangcheng's waist made the woman's heart beat faster. As for Choi Yun's perky buttocks, they were held by Yangcheng's two hands, aimed at the target, and firmly combined with Yangcheng's fiery hot body. Although there was only a trace of moonlight, Yangcheng's vision was not affected. Without any difficulty, he sent his clone into Choi Yun's mud that had just been wet not long ago. Ugh! Choi Yun's face was like a rosy cloud. Her eyes were filled with rolling waves. She was holding onto Yangcheng's underwear, her arms wrapped around Yangcheng's neck, feeling the heat in her body, and then blowing the salty sea breeze. The impact of ice and fire almost made her soul fly out. Yangcheng looked at the passionate woman, her short hair fluttering in the wind, making her look exceptionally beautiful. He aimed at her cherry lips and kissed them heavily. For a moment, the intertwining of heavenly lightning and earthly fire was playing out wildly on the beach. The two of them enjoyed the passion of only each other on the beach as they slowly returned to the direction of the car. The night was long, and fragrant flowers scattered in all directions. Even the crescent moon in the sky seemed to be hiding in the clouds in embarrassment. Chapter 786. The morning light shone into the pink-toned bedroom, and the air was filled with the faint scent of jasmine. On the large, soft bed, the woman hiding under the blankets stretched out a white and flawless arm. She searched around in a daze for a while, as if she was scratching something randomly. Finally, her hand landed on the exquisite mahogany bedside cabinet. After grabbing a phone, the woman slowly removed the thin silk blanket covering her head and revealed a beautiful face with sleepy eyes. In the faint morning light, it was like a snow lotus blooming gracefully. After seeing the date on the phone and confirming that it was the day she had to go to work, Lynn Ruashi scratched her slightly messy hair and lazily propped herself up to sit up. Her bed was the largest size that could be bought on the market. This made her look especially small when she was sleeping alone in the morning. Looking at the slightly empty room, Lynn Ruashi sat for a while to let her brain gradually wake up before she pulled off the blankets. She wore the white cotton pajamas that she had used for many years. She used all four limbs to support herself on the blankets and crawled step by step to the end of the bed. If anyone else saw this scene, their eyes would have popped out of their sockets. The woman who crawled on the bed like a slow-moving panda turned out to be the cold and ruthless female CEO of the company. The contrast was really outrageous. Lynn Ruashi didn't realize that her actions in the room were the same as when she was eating glutinous rice balls. It was a bit weird, a bit clumsy, but to her, it was as natural as eating and sleeping. At the end of the bed, there was a white and round dumpling doll lying quietly on the bed. This was a gift from Yangcheng when he ate 88 dumplings on New Year's Eve. When Lynn Ruashi brought it back, she initially placed it with the other plush toys. But in the past month or two, with Yangcheng repeatedly making women unhappy, the dumpling doll was specially placed at the end of the bed. Lynn Ruashi's idea was very simple. Every night when she slept, she would use her feet to stink. Unfortunately, she neglected one thing. Her feet weren't smelly, so naturally, it wouldn't work as a punishment. But even so, this somewhat childish method allowed Lynn Ruashi to adjust her emotions relatively quickly. It was as if as long as she saw this doll's unchanging, simple, and honest smile, her hatred for the bad man would lessen a lot. Life went on like this. There was pain and sadness, but at least he had a cute side to him. Occasionally, he was quite likable, wasn't he? Lynn Ruashi pouted as she looked at the silly doll up close. She reached out and patted the doll's head a few times. What are you looking at? Bad guy. Who asked you to give others a diamond ring? Who asked you to lose your temper at me? Who asked you to give me? Lynn Ruashi was halfway through her sentence. Her brain seemed to have short-circuited in the morning. After thinking for a while, she remembered that the bad guy had given her a pocket watch last night. Where was it? Looking around, Lynn Ruashi realized that she had placed the pocket watch next to her pillow. She didn't even notice it. Last night, she seemed to have fallen asleep looking at the pocket watch. Lynn Ruashi crawled back to the head of the bed. She picked up the old-fashioned pocket watch and stared blankly at it for a while. The pocket watch looked very old. There were many hands on it. It was a multi-function watch. There were some densely packed, small words in the middle. But Lynn Ruashi didn't study it too much, because when she saw this watch, she thought of the pink diamond ring. The two were too different. She didn't have the mood to compare the two. For a woman, shiny things were indeed too tempting. It wasn't a matter of money. Lynn Ruashi stared blankly at the pocket watch for a while before sighing faintly. She hesitated for a moment before turning around and crawling to the bedside table. She stuffed the pocket watch into the Hermes platinum bag that she usually carried with her. Although this watch didn't look good, at least this antique mechanical watch matched well with the retro Hermes bag. It had the feel of an old European aristocrat. She would occasionally take it out as a pendant for a bag. Lynn Ruashi thought so. She used this to convince herself that she didn't carry it, because it was a gift from that person. She was just making use of waste. After doing all this, Lin Ruashi got out of bed and went to wash up. Yesterday, she sent Jinxiu for her exam and didn't go to work. Today, she could not go. As for Jinxiu's exam, let that bad guy send it. Why should she be busy at home? Lin Ruashi thought hatefully. On the other hand, while Lin Ruashi was cursing in her heart, Yang Cheng had just returned home after a night of messing around with Choi Yun. The car was driven back by Choi Yun. As for Wei Tingo, he must have been released from the mental hospital. Yang Cheng couldn't be bothered to care about him. After listening to Choi Yun's words last night, Yang Cheng felt much better. He couldn't give Lin Ruashi a perfect love, but that didn't mean that he wouldn't work hard to love her. It was precisely because he cared for her more than any other woman that he would occasionally be so timid. He didn't dare to touch a woman's soft and prideful heart, fearing that he would hurt her too deeply. Instead of looking for trouble and not knowing what to do, he would rather treat her as he did in the past. He believed that as time went by, his wife would understand why she was his only wife. When Yang Cheng walked into the house, he was carrying a few bags of fresh fish and vegetables. He had bought them from the market early in the morning. Mother Wang and Guo Shuihua, who were busy in the kitchen, weren't too surprised to see them. They didn't know that Yang Cheng didn't come home last night. "Oh, why did you go to the market so early in the morning?" "That's good. I didn't have to go to the market." Guo Shuihua thought that Yang Cheng had left home early in the morning, so she happily took the ingredients from Yang Cheng's hands. Yang Cheng didn't explain further and asked, "Ruashi and Jinxiu aren't down yet? Isn't it early?" Guo Shuihua smiled and looked upstairs. Seeing that there was no one around, she asked softly, "Son, how's Qianni? Is she all right?" Yang Cheng smiled faintly and said, "Mom, you really don't leave anyone behind." Guo Shuihua smiled bitterly. "I'm conflicted too, but I couldn't bear to see that girl. How deep must her love be for her to say such hysterical words? I can't control you guys. I just hope that you can treat them better." As for Ruashi, she's very strong-willed. If she doesn't take the initiative to mention it, don't say anything. Actually, she knows that as a wife, she can't really accept this kind of thing. Yang Cheng nodded. "All right, Mom. I'll pick Jinxiu up for her exams today and tomorrow. I'll go home for lunch and dinner." Ruashi's sudden interruption of work will have a big impact. Let her go to work as usual. Sigh. At least you know how to dote on your wife. Guo Shuihua was obviously happy. Not long after, Lin Ruashi, who was dressed in more formal work attire, and Jinxiu, who was full of energy, came downstairs. Yang Cheng was carrying a bowl of porridge out of the kitchen. When he saw Lin Ruashi, he smiled naturally. "There aren't any dark circles under your eyes. I'm relieved. Looks like you slept well." Lin Ruashi pretended not to see him and sat at the dining table with Jinxiu. She stroked Jinxiu's hair and said, "Jinxiu, I'm going to work today. I won't be sending you off. Let that person send you for the exams today and tomorrow." That person? Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. Even his title had been erased. Although Jinxiu had long felt that there was something wrong with Yang Cheng and Lin Ruashi, she just thought that they were quarreling again. She smiled and nodded. She didn't think too much about it. After all, the couple had quarreled too many times in the family. Guo Shuihua shook her head and smiled. Yang Cheng already said that he'll pick Jinxiu up. "Ruashi, don't worry." Lin Ruashi looked up at Yang Cheng in surprise. She didn't expect Yang Cheng to have already thought of it for her. In fact, if Yang Cheng wasn't in the United States, Lin Ruashi wouldn't want to take a day off. After all, as the CEO of such a big international company, a sudden disruption of her schedule would delay many things. Yang Cheng winked at her and said playfully, "That person is actually not bad." Lin Ruashi didn't show any expression and ignored him. She only turned back to say some words of encouragement to Jinxiu, but she felt a little better in her heart. In fact, this was how couples got along. Occasionally, a hint of unexpected consideration and concern could reduce a lot of unhappiness. What a woman wanted was to find her place in a man's heart. Knowing that the man placed her at the top of his heart would naturally make her feel more at ease. Moreover, the two of them had experienced a lot of ups and downs. It would be a lie to say that they didn't understand each other's feelings. It was just that there were often irreconcilable contradictions that made them not know how to get along. The family ate breakfast and watched the morning news. It wasn't much different from the past. It was as if the storm that had just passed yesterday afternoon had already passed without a trace. At this moment, Lin Ruashi's phone vibrated. The woman put down her bowl and chopsticks leisurely, picked up her phone, looked at it, and picked it up without hesitation. "Chris, what's up?" Chris seemed to have said something that made Lin Ruashi struggle. But in the end, Lin Ruashi still replied, "I got it. I'll be on time." After hanging up the phone, Lin Ruashi heaved a sigh of relief. She raised her head to look at Yang Chun, who was taking big bites out of the corn steam bun. Feeling a little uncomfortable, she whispered, "Are you free tonight?" Chapter 787. When Yang Chung heard Lin Ruashi's question, he was so excited that he almost spat out the rice and steamed bun in his mouth. Did this mean that she wanted to spend some time alone with him to get rid of the Cold War? Quickly covering his mouth and swallowing all the food, Yang Chung grinned and said with a flattering smile, "Of course I'm free. Ruashi baby, are you going on a date with me? I told you, my wife is the most generous. Don't worry, I'll definitely perform well. Where are you going? I'm fine with anything. Why don't we go to the Maldives for a few days? How can one night be enough to express my deep feelings for you?" Yang Chung was worried that he didn't have a chance to perform well, so he was so excited that he didn't even pay attention to what he said. Not just Lin Ruashi, but Guo Xuehua, Mother Wang, and Jinxiu, who were at the table, were all stunned. Yang Chung realized that he was a little too excited, so he grabbed his chopsticks and scratched his head. Shan Shan asked with a smile, "What's the matter?" Lin Ruashi's cheeks were bright red. She really wanted to laugh, but she felt that she would be letting him down if she smiled after being angered by him just now. So she tried hard to restrain herself and said, "Chris's wife, Jennifer, has recently returned to Huaxia. The couple wants to gather their friends in Huaxia. Although I used to be his student, I'm also his teacher and friend. Now that we're working together, I want to go too." "Oh, it's a gathering of husband and wife?" Yang Chung asked knowingly. Lin Ruashi nodded. "They're all people of high status now. Although I started working before I graduated from my master's, the classmates who study with Chris are all now people of high status. Although it's a private gathering today, everyone actually wants to deepen some work exchanges through their relationship with Chris. There might be 10 or 20 people, which is not a small number. If you go with me, it's best." Lin Ruashi wanted Yang Chung not to be as vulgar as he usually was. After all, it was a social event for the upper class. However, Lin Ruashi now knew that it wasn't that this guy didn't know the ways of the upper class. In fact, he knew a lot about it. It was just that he didn't care about it. As a result, Lin Ruashi was stuck there, not knowing what to say. They had just started talking, and she was afraid that if she said something unpleasant, the atmosphere would not be right. Seeing the woman's awkwardness, Yang Chung said, "Don't worry. I'm fully dressed today, and I'll listen to your instructions." Lin Ruashi pursed her lips and said with relief, "I'll get off work and go home before 6 o'clock in the evening. I'll be at the Shangri-La Hotel. It's not appropriate if I don't wear formal attire. You can prepare yourself." Yang Chung was a little disappointed. Actually, he didn't really like this kind of social event. To him, going to the night market with Lin Ruashi or listening to an opera was more interesting than that. However, in order to make Lin Ruashi feel better, he still agreed with a smile. After breakfast, Lin Ruashi went to work while Yang Chung rushed to the examination hall with Jinxiu. On a day like this where there was a lot of traffic and a lot of noise, he didn't feel at ease leaving Jinxiu alone. On the way there, the car was playing various new songs by Hui Lin. Ever since she successfully held her first solo concert in Beijing, Hui Lin had been busy touring the country. At the same time, she released some English singles all over the world. Her influence could be said to have spread to all corners of the world. The girl's natural, ethereal voice blended with the popular music of the world's most cutting-edge musicians. With the help of abundant funds to promote her songs, there was no way she wouldn't be popular. Yang Chung was looking forward to Hui Lin's concert in Zhonghai in July. When the time comes, he would bring his family to sit in the VIP seats. It should be a very enjoyable experience. After sending Jinxiu to the examination hall, and watching her walk in, Yang Chung drove to a park not far away from the campus. He found a secluded spot and took out his phone to call Kai Ning, who was far away in Beijing. Kai Ning seemed to be busy with something. The moment she picked up the call, she asked plainly, "Why are you suddenly calling at this time? Is something the matter?" Even after this woman confessed, she didn't act like a little girl. Instead, she seemed to be as indifferent as before. "Ning Er, are you free recently?" Yang Chung didn't mind and smiled. "How about accompanying me to Sichuan province?" "Why?" "I want to go to the Tang sect," Yang Chung said. Kai Ning was silent for a while on the other end of the phone. Then, she said, I don't really like that place." Yang Chung was stunned. Why would there be such a thing? Wasn't the Tang sect Kai Ning's sect? Wasn't her master there? But soon, Kai Ning said again, "But I can't accompany you." "But why do you want to go?" Yang Chung heaved a sigh of relief. He thought that Kai Ning really didn't want to accompany him. If that was the case, he could only bite the bullet and negotiate with the Tang sect. Soon, Yang Chung told Kai Ning that he wanted to organize some cultivation techniques for the people around him to practice. For a martial arts expert like Kai Ning, who was close to the Xiantian realm, this news was completely different from Xiang Wei's. Kai Ning didn't know that Yang Chung had reached such an unimaginable realm. To her, the Xiantian realm was like an insurmountable chasm, but to this man, it was nothing. This time, Kai Ning was silent on the phone for a much longer time than before. It was as if it wasn't easy for a woman to digest the information she'd just heard. After a long time, Kai Ning said softly, "I can accompany you, but not for the next few days. I'm still investigating the mission that the general gave me. It might take some time. Mission? Is it dangerous?" Yang Chung thought to himself. This Kai Yunqing was really impartial. He didn't even let Kai Ning stay idle. Kai Ning said, "It's fine. It's actually about the premier's wife from the Ning family, Luo Suishan's death." "What? Luo Suishan is dead? When?" Yang Chung asked doubtfully. Kai Ning seemed a little surprised. "I thought you already knew. Wasn't Luo Suishan's disappearance in Zhonghai related to you?" Yang Chung frowned. He didn't pay much attention to it when he was in the U.S. The last time he saw Luo Suishan was that rainy day in the alley. He saw Luo Suishan and Cripple together. He thought she would be found by the Ning family sooner or later, but he didn't expect her to die so suddenly. Luo Suishan's death is very strange. She died suddenly due to work exhaustion, although the TV news didn't report too much on it. According to what we know, Luo Suishan disappeared in Zhonghai and didn't return to Beijing to work. So there might be some secret behind her death. Unfortunately, there's no evidence. In order not to arouse the Ning family's dissatisfaction, the general only sent me to investigate in secret. Kai Ning continued to explain. The crippled beggar suddenly appeared in Yang Cheng's mind. He pondered and said, "If that's the case, Ning Er, you investigate first. Pay attention to your own safety. I have a piece of information for you. Why don't you look around and see if there's a crippled young man in and out of the Ning family? If I'm not wrong, Luo Suishan should be with that cripple before she died." Kai Ning asked curiously, "From what you're saying, you know the whereabouts of Luo Suishan? You didn't kill her, did you?" Her daughter's voice was full of worry. "Don't worry, I definitely didn't kill her. I'm also very curious. Who gave her the last stab?" Yang Chung said. Kai Ning didn't ask any more questions. She was clever and had more or less guessed most of it. However, there was no need to say it out loud to make the man uncomfortable. Moreover, it was better to cover up this kind of thing. Yang Chung smiled and asked, "Ning Er, do you feel uncomfortable when I say that I'm going to teach Xiangwei cultivation first?" "No," Kai Ning said crisply. "I can understand. Drawing on a blank piece of paper is always easier than drawing on a drawing." Yang Chung clicked his tongue and sighed. "You sisters seem to be smarter than I thought. Seems like I've been worrying too much." After chatting for a while, he teased the serious Kai Ning and enjoyed the woman's helpless response. Only then did Yang Chung hang up the phone happily. He found a shady spot and laid down in the park for a while. Then, he ran to the examination hall to fetch Jinxiu home for lunch. There was a comprehensive exam in the morning and a foreign language exam in the afternoon. Yang Chung could be considered to have had a taste of being a parent. When it was almost 6 o'clock, Lin Ruashi also arrived home on time. After showering, the woman changed into a black, tight-fitting dress with a round collar and slit. Her slender neck looked especially elegant. She wore a glossy pearl necklace, revealing an unconcealable elegance in its simplicity. Yang Chen's eyeballs almost popped out of his eye sockets when he saw the pair of red crystal heels. Yang Cheng himself wore a suit and trousers that he hadn't worn for a long time. He even wore a red tie. It was indeed a little hot to wear this outfit in June. Fortunately, Yang Cheng could adjust his body temperature, so he didn't feel embarrassed like many men. Seeing that Lin Ruashi had a look of approval for his outfit, Yang Cheng felt a weight lifted off his heart. He didn't care about this *T social interaction. The key was to make his wife happy. After all, it was a gathering of acquaintances. Although it was formal, it wasn't grand. Therefore, it was still Yang Cheng who was responsible for driving a dark red Aston Martin DB9 that was specially taken out from the garage. This was a world-class sports car with a price of nearly 4 million Huaxia dollars. If he drove it on a normal day, it would be too ostentatious. Therefore, unless there was an occasion like this where he needed to put on airs, he could only let it rot in the garage. Yang Cheng wanted to drive faster, but he was afraid that Lin Ruashi would be disgusted if he drove too fast. Therefore, he carefully controlled the speed to be around 100 kilometers per hour. This made things difficult for Yang Cheng. It was much harder to drive this car slowly than fast. Lin Ruashi also realized that this man was trying to please her everywhere. Although she felt a tinge of sweetness in her heart, she didn't show it. She muttered in her heart, "Why are you acting so obedient now? What were you doing in the past? Let's see how long you can act obedient for." Chapter 788. The Shangri-La Hotel in Zhonghai was located by the artificial lake in a new city district. The scenery was pleasant, and the lights were bright under the night sky, reflecting in the lake, looking especially dreamy. Yang Cheng drove the Aston Martin to the entrance of the hotel. After getting out of the car, he handed the car key to the waiter at the door. The waiter was also knowledgeable. When he saw this kind of car, he immediately realized that the guest was not ordinary. He took the car key and carefully drove the car to the parking lot. In Huaxia, unlike abroad, there was no need to give a tip for this kind of thing. This made Yang Cheng feel that it was much simpler. Yang Cheng naturally raised his arm towards Lin Ruashi, indicating for Lin Ruashi to hold it. Since he was going to be a gentleman of high society, he had to have a female companion. Lin Ruashi did not hesitate much. After all, it was not the first time. She gently stuck to the man's side and whispered, "Just hold it like this, don't move." The implication was, of course, that he was not allowed to rub against some sensitive parts of her body. This was something Yang Cheng often did in the past. Yang Cheng said calmly, "Today, even if you want me to be a wooden man, I will listen to you." Only then did Lin Ruashi give a satisfied sound. Just as the two of them were about to enter the hotel, a silver soft-top convertible suddenly drove in from outside and blocked the two of them, blocking the entrance of the hotel. Upon closer inspection, it was a British Rolls-Royce Phantom. This kind of 7-point displacement limited edition super luxury sedan would cost at least 7 or 8 million Huaxia dollars. It was a product that even if you had money, you might not have it. Compared to the Aston Martin that Yang Cheng drove, it was a level higher. Yang Cheng frowned. The car owner seemed to have purposely come for the two of them. Otherwise, he would not have rushed in front of the two of them so quickly and had to stop them. Lin Ruashi seemed to have thought of something. She held onto Yang Cheng's arm and exerted a little force. It was obvious that her heart was not calm. Soon, the double doors opened and a man and a woman came out. The man was wearing an exquisitely tailored Armani black suit. He had neatly combed black hair and wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. He looked to be less than 30 years old, but he had an elegant and mature bearing. The woman, on the other hand, had her hair in an elegant bun and wore large crystal earrings. She was wearing a white lace dress with a floral pattern at the waist. The low neckline revealed her proud capital. Her deep cleavage was so white that it was dazzling, and her light makeup revealed a seductive look. After handing the car over to the attendant, the man and woman also held each other's arms, just like a couple or husband and wife. The woman was especially lovable, sticking closely to the man's side. The two of them did not enter the hotel immediately. Instead, they turned around and faced Lin Ruashi. "Ruashi, long time no see," the man said with a magnetic voice and a smile. Lin Ruashi stared at the man's handsome face for a few seconds with a complicated expression. She then looked at the woman beside the man, who had a smug look on her face, and said calmly, "I don't think it's been that long." The woman flirtatiously combed a few strands of black hair at the tip of her ear. "You're as cold as always, Lin Ruashi." Lin Ruashi did not say anything. She turned around and pulled Yang Cheng's hand, wanting to enter the hotel directly. Yang Cheng felt a little uncomfortable because Lin Ruashi had no intention of introducing them at all. It was obvious that when she looked at the man, her eyes were filled with suppressed emotions. Even Zheng Xinlin, who was her senior in the past, did not look as intense as Lin Ruashi when she looked at him. Even if she did not show it, Yang Cheng could feel it. At this moment, the man asked, "Ruashi, aren't you going to introduce this gentleman of yours? I heard from Chris that you're married, but Yashin and I didn't believe it. I didn't expect it to be true." Lin Ruashi did not take a step forward. She looked at the ground and asked expressionlessly, "Are you saying that only the two of you can get married?" "Of course not," the woman named Yashin said with a smile. "It's just that the famous iceberg beauty in the university got married at such a young age, and she's even someone I've never heard of before. After all, we've spent a year with you in the university, and as friends, we're very concerned about your marriage." "That's right." The man looked at Yang Cheng and said teasingly, "This must be Ruashi's husband, Mr. Yang Cheng. It's an honor to meet you. My name is Li Jianhe, but you can call me Hanson. I was Ruashi's teaching assistant in university. This is my wife, Shun Yashin. She was also Ruashi's postgraduate classmate." Lin Ruashi did not give Yang Cheng a chance to speak. She said coldly, "Since you know what he's called, let's go in." After she finished speaking, Lin Ruashi didn't want to stay any longer. She pulled Yang Chun and walked into the hotel, ignoring Yang Chen's confusion. Seeing Yang Cheng and Lin Ruashi enter the hotel, Li Jian's eyes lit up and he chuckled. Shin Yashin hummed softly, "Darling, are you still thinking about that woman?" Li Jianhe smiled. "She's even more beautiful than she was in school. How could I not think about such a beautiful flower?" "Humph. Aren't you afraid I'll be jealous?" Li Jianhe laughed. "When she rejected me, I didn't care about her anymore. A woman who dares to reject me, no matter how beautiful she is just a pitiful worm. How could she compare to my most beloved Yashin?" Shin Yashin smiled and kissed her husband on the cheek, twisting her hips and sticking close to him as they walked into the hotel together. After being dragged into the hotel by Lin Ruashi, Yang Chen noticed that her body was trembling slightly. He couldn't help but ask with concern, "Ruashi, what's wrong with you?" "Who are they?" Lin Ruashi took a deep breath. "That Li Jianhe. He was Chris's most trusted assistant when I was a postgraduate student. That Shin Yashin was my classmate." "Is he powerful? What does he do?" Lin Ruashi said, "Li Jianhe's family is an international financial group. But because their business is mainly in Europe, they don't have much of a reputation in the country. I only learned about them after I graduated from university. They mainly invest in the automobile industry, and they also have car parts manufacturers all over the world. They have quite a bit of shares in Germany's BMW and Italy's Fiat. That Shin Yashin's grandfather and parents are high officials in the Jiang province. They belong to a big family with a strong background. No wonder they drive a Rolls-Royce. They built it themselves," Yang Cheng said. As the two entered the elevator, Lin Ruashi pressed the button. "I didn't mention it to you before, but I have to tell you now. Chris may be my mentor on the surface, but his academic achievements are recognized by the world. The Morgan family once hired him to be the head of a bank in America, but he didn't like high-intensity work and didn't like being tied down, so he rejected the offer. But many companies still want to hire him, and many want him to be a consultant. Otherwise, Li Jianhe and his wife wouldn't have come here so easily." TSK, Yang Cheng sighed. "Even the Morgan family couldn't get him, but my wife managed to get him to be a vice president. As expected of my darling Ruashi." Lin Ruoshi rolled her eyes. I'm not joking. The job he's in charge of is the easiest one. If not for the fact that we hit it off well, and that he likes Huaxia's food, I wouldn't have been able to get him here. Based on what you said, Li Jianhe and Shen Yaxin's background aren't any worse than yours. Honey, don't tell me we're at the bottom of the list of people Chris invited? Yang Cheng said with a smile. Actually, Yang Cheng could tell that Lin Ruoshi wasn't very happy, so he wanted to make a joke. He wanted to ask Lin Ruoshi if she had any other relationship with Li Jianhe, but Lin Ruoshi avoided talking about it, so Yang Cheng didn't want to probe further. He didn't want their relationship to turn sour again. Lin Ruoshi nodded seriously. I've worked hard for the past few years, and I have some capital. But no matter how fast Yulei develops, I'm just a businesswoman. Like Li Jianhe and Shen Yaxin, they had deep roots in the government, both within and outside the country. The rest of the people we're meeting today are mostly leaders of large corporations in the country, as well as some heirs of prominent families related to the central government. Back then, because Chris was an internationally recognized master in the market, people like us learned from him. My grandma also hoped that I could build some connections. That's why I don't want to turn down this gathering. If I don't come, I'll offend some people. Also, out of respect for Chris, I have to come. I'm afraid that some people might want to poach Chris away. Of course, I have to watch. Yang Cheng didn't expect a simple gathering to be so complicated. But what he cared about was the relationship between Li Jianhe and Lin Ruoshi. As for who was rich and who was powerful, what did it have to do with him? Lin Ruoshi's brows were especially solemn. Because Li Jianhe and his wife had suddenly returned from overseas, the woman seemed to have recalled many memories of the past. Finally, after walking out of the elevator, the two walked through a luxuriously decorated corridor and arrived at a high-rise private room with a lake view. As soon as they entered the room, there were already more than a dozen men and women in pairs, including Chris and his wife. They were laughing heartily and chatting with friends and students they hadn't seen for years. Oh, my dear Lin, you're finally here. Is this your husband, Mr. Yang? A Caucasian woman with fiery red lips greeted Lin Ruoshi in English and immediately opened her arms to hug her excitedly. Chapter 789. Lin Ruoshi was not used to such enthusiasm, but she still smiled and hugged the woman. Jennifer, welcome back to Huaxia. This was Chris's wife, Jennifer. The woman was full of joy as she said, previously, Chris said that Lin wanted him to work at Yulei International. At that time, I thought it was a good suggestion. You don't know, but his days in the United States are too leisurely, so leisurely that he always wants to do some ridiculous things. Letting him come back to Huaxia to work will be a good choice. Lin Ruoshi had heard Chris mention that he had an affair before, so she roughly understood what Jennifer meant. She smiled and said, I'm very grateful that he's willing to help me. Of course, you're welcome to come back. Chris came forward and heard his wife's words. He laughed awkwardly. Jennifer looked Yang Cheng up and down again. Mr. Yang, you really are an incredible man. What kind of magic is it that made Lin willing to marry you? She is not an easy girl to get close to. Yang Chen thought in his heart, it's very easy to get close to her after drinking the drug. Using fluent American English, he said, this should be considered a private matter between me and my wife. She'll be shy if I tell her. Oh, Jennifer laughed as she supported her husband with one hand. You are so humorous. I have never seen Lin shy before. Lin Ruoshi bit her lower lip and secretly pinched Yang Cheng's waist with her fingers. At this time, a young couple with good looks and temperament also came over. The girl's face was a little round, and her eyes were big, but she had a rare scholarly air about her. The man was dressed in a relatively old-fashioned way, but he gave off a delicate and peaceful feeling. Ruoshi, do you still remember me? The round-faced woman stuck out her tongue mischievously. Lin Ruoshi's eyes showed a trace of affection. Huang Lele, am I that forgetful? Huang Lele happily reached out and pulled her man. Hubby, look, I told you that Ruoshi won't forget me. The handsome man helplessly nodded at his wife, then turned to Lin Ruoshi and said, I can't do anything about her, so I just casually mentioned it. Maybe Ruoshi has already forgotten her, but she insisted on making a bet with me, saying that you would definitely remember her. Lin Ruoshi asked with a little surprise. You are Wang Haitao, right? Are you married to Huang Lele? Yeah, you didn't expect it, right? It's not easy. Wang Haitao put his hand on the shoulder of the owner's wife and sighed. At this moment, everyone was chatting as they sat down. Yang Chen couldn't get a word in. Lin Ruoshi smiled and chatted with these people, occasionally explaining a few words to Yang Chen. It turned out that Huang Lele was the little follower of Lin Ruoshi during her graduate studies. But because Lin Ruoshi was too dazzling, the girl had no sense of existence. Many people even called her the one beside Lin Ruoshi. They didn't even know her name. Wang Haitao was a student at the Academy of Arts, but he was the only boy who liked Huang Lele. However, the Wang family and the Huang family had conflicts in the previous generation. The reason was that the Wang family and the Huang family were both scholarly families. Their families were full of celebrities such as collectors, painters, calligraphers, and connoisseurs. One had a high-level background in the Ministry of Culture, and the other had a high-level background in the Ministry of Radio and Television. Both families were also well-known families in Fu Province. The previous generation was always competing with each other. This made Wang Haitao and Huang Lele unable to openly develop a relationship. Unexpectedly, a few years later, this poor pair of lovers who were implicated by the previous generation actually tied the knot. The other young couples present were also from wealthy families or the children of high-ranking officials. If the low-key Chris was not the graduate tutor of these people, they really wouldn't be able to convince them. However, because everyone had a good background, they talked and laughed. Only Yang Cheng was a very inconspicuous person in the eyes of everyone. The people present also learned about the news of Lin Ruoshi's marriage not long ago. Their understanding of Yang Cheng was based on what Chris had said before, especially when Yang Cheng said that he was the director of Yu Lei's entertainment branch. A group of people inevitably showed a surprised expression. After all, in the eyes of everyone, this was tantamount to living off a woman. Lin Ruoshi's heart was naturally not very comfortable, but she was also embarrassed to say the real background of Yang Cheng. She was not a person who liked to show off, so she had to pretend that nothing had happened. Yang Cheng was even more indifferent. He just watched helplessly as the dishes did not arrive. After a while, Chris looked at the time and asked curiously, "Why aren't Hansen and Yashin here yet? I didn't leave them out." As soon as he finished speaking, the door was pushed open. Li Jianhe and Shen Yashin walked into the room with radiant faces, greeting the crowd. It was obvious that Li Jianhe and his wife were quite outstanding among the crowd. Many people stood up to welcome them. Li Jianhe smiled and pulled his wife to sit down. "Sorry to keep everyone waiting. We actually arrived 20 minutes ago. We just happened to meet a respected elder on the way here. He happened to be here for dinner, so we chatted a little longer." The main character always has to appear last. It's only right to wait. But someone who can earn teaching assistant Li's respect must not be an ordinary person. Someone immediately buttered up and asked with a smile. Li Jianhe waved his hand and said humbly, "I, Li Jianhe, still have some face in Europe. But in Huaxia, I have to rely on everyone's support. By the way, that elder heard that Professor Chris is here today. He said he would like to propose a toast later." Chris was a little puzzled. He had been in Huaxia for a long time and knew a lot of people. He really couldn't guess who it was. He asked, "Hansen, why are you keeping us in suspense? Who is it?" Li Jianhe answered in riddles. "You'll know in a moment, Professor. Let's start the banquet. Everyone has been waiting for a long time." Chris chided him jokingly, then got the waiters to start serving the dishes. He also poured different glasses of wine for each person. The group of friends who had reunited after a few years could be considered to be chatting and laughing. The most eye-catching main characters were Li Jianhe and Shen Yashin. After all, be it in terms of international social relations, financial strength, or domestic political influence, the couple stood out from the crowd. In comparison, although the glamorous Lin Ruoshi outshone all the women present, she wasn't too dazzling. When they were about to drink, Shen Yashin suddenly stood up and raised her glass to Lin Ruoshi. "Come, Ruoshi, old classmate, a toast to you. It's all thanks to your modesty that I was able to have such a happy marriage with Hansen." Shen Yashin jokingly brought it up, causing everyone to turn to look at Lin Ruoshi. Many of them sighed in their eyes. Lin Ruoshi hadn't spoken much to begin with. After Shen Yashin's teasing, her face was as cold as ice. She reached for her glass, trembling slightly. She slowly stood up and raised it. "This has nothing to do with me. You're welcome." Having said that, Lin Ruoshi took a sip and sat down again without saying a word. Yang Cheng was minding his own business, munching on half a pigeon. He even cut it with a knife. When he saw this, his eyes flashed with indignation. He seemed to have sensed something, but what made him even more uncomfortable was that Shen Yashin was purposely poking at Lin Ruoshi's scars. From Lin Ruoshi's efforts to suppress her emotions, it was clear that she hadn't completely let go of what happened that year. Huang Lele saw this and didn't think much of it. But to be honest, I also thought Ruoshi and teaching assistant Li would be a couple. I didn't expect it to be Yashin and teaching assistant Li. It can only be said that Yashin is more fortunate to be able to become young Master Li's wife. She's the envy of others. Another woman flattered. Li Jinhe waved his hand. "Everyone's flattering me. I'm not fated to be with Ruoshi. It's just a passing cloud. It's the will of the heavens to be with Yashin. I just want to treat my wife well. There's nothing special about it." Teaching assistant Li, "You're too humble. Last month, Yashin called me to say that you gave her a villa in the Aegean Sea for her to rest in. It's so beautiful." A female classmate said enviously. Li Jinhe smiled. "Money is earned and must be spent. Men earn money for women, right? It's not a big deal." Everyone gasped in admiration. A villa worth millions of euros? Even if they were well off, they couldn't compare to Li Jinhe's wealth. Shen Yashin smiled and said, "Actually, I think Ruoshi and Mr. Yang are quite compatible. A husband working for his wife, he must dote on his wife, right?" Even though the group could tell that Shen Yashin was purposely saying that Yang Cheng was useless, they still pretended to be confused and laughed. Yang Cheng moved closer to Lin Ruoshi's ear and whispered, "Wifey, what if I throw a pigeon bone at that woman?" A trace of panic appeared on Lin Ruoshi's calm face. She moved her lips and said, "I know you're not afraid of them, but Chris is treating us today, and we're all classmates. It's not appropriate for us to have a falling out. Just bear with it for now. The meal will be over soon anyway." Yang Cheng took a deep breath. "I'll listen to you for now. If she bullies you again, I won't tolerate it anymore." A trace of warmth flowed through Lin Ruoshi's heart. After listening to those words, Yang Cheng didn't ask her about what happened between her and Li Jinhe back then. Instead, he wanted to protect her first. It was obvious that in this man's heart, she came first. Just as everyone was chatting heatedly, Shen Yashin acted as if she had suddenly thought of something. She turned to Wang Haitao, who had been silent all this while. "Haitao, you're the most cultured and knowledgeable. A few days ago, Hansen gave me a gift, but we're not sure if it's real. Why don't you show it to us?" Chapter 790. Wang Haitao replied humbly, "I only know a little about everything." "Yashin, you think too highly of me. It's fine, we can all look at it together. I'm just worried that Hansen might have wasted his money. After all, this thing is rare." As she spoke, Shen Yashin asked the waiter to bring her coffee-colored Gucci bag over. She took out an intricate, dark black box made of wood. Everyone looked at the box curiously, curious as to what was inside. Shen Yashin pursed her lips into a smile and passed the black box to Wang Haitao. Wang Haitao smiled at everyone and carefully opened the small golden buckle on the wooden box. As soon as the lid was opened, the little object inside made everyone's eyes light up. It was a watch lying quietly on a piece of pale gold silk. The reason why everyone was amazed from afar was because the entire bezel of the watch was meticulously made of gold. Although the people present were not watch experts, they were all knowledgeable people. People of the upper class knew a thing or two about watches. With one look, they knew that this was no ordinary watch. "This watch is so beautiful. Haitao, don't you study all kinds of famous watches? What is this?" Huang Lele asked her husband. Wang Haitao was also stunned for a moment, then carefully took out the golden watch to examine it. After a moment of contemplation, he exclaimed, Oh my God! Could this be Vacheron Constantine Tortolile? Hearing this, two people who were also interested in watches gasped in surprise. No way, didn't they say that there are only 7 of these watches in the world? Haitao, are you sure? Someone said in disbelief. Wang Haitao looked at Li Jianhe and Shun Yaxin. It's the Vacheron Constantine Tortolile, right? If it wasn't for this watch, Yaxin wouldn't have asked me to appraise it. Li Jianhe said calmly. I bought this at an auction in England last month. It cost me 3 million pounds. It's a gift for Yaxin's 3rd wedding anniversary. But I heard that there are only 7 of these watches in the world, and one of them is permanently stored in a museum and not sold. So I'm a little skeptical about whether it's real or not. After all, there are a lot of counterfeits in Switzerland these days, and it's hard to tell the real from the fake. Shin Yaxin seemed to appreciate everyone's admiration, especially the way they looked down on Lin Ruoxi and Yang Cheng. Shin Yaxin laughed maniacally in her heart, but on the surface, she maintained a reserved smile. I didn't want Hansen to spend so much money, but he insisted on buying it for me. It's such an expensive watch, and I couldn't bear to take out the box. This is the first time I'm showing it to anyone, so I wanted Haitao to help me appraise it. None of the people present were stupid. How could such an expensive item be fake? It was obvious that Shun Yaxin was flaunting her wealth after marrying into a rich family. 3 million pounds and a limited edition watch. It wasn't as simple as being rich. It was something that could only be obtained if one had international status. So, even though everyone knew that she was flaunting, they were still impressed. Especially a few women. They were especially envious of Shun Yaxin's marriage to Li Jianhe. At the same time, they looked at Lin Ruoxi, who had the opportunity to marry Li Jianhe, and sighed. The two women's fates couldn't be compared because of the difference in their husbands. Really? It's that expensive? Oh my God, it's enough to buy 2 Boeing airliners. Huang Lele stared at the watch blankly and asked, Haitao, why is this watch so expensive? Is it because it's made of gold? Wang Haitao caressed the surface of the gold watch fondly and explained in a serious tone, the Vacheron Constantine Tortolile is a watch specially developed for Vacheron Constantine's 250th anniversary. Not to mention the precious materials used, the key is the craftsmanship. It's also one of the most versatile watches in the world, with the most complicated movement structure. Don't be fooled by its small size. It holds a total of 834 parts. The surface has a dark blue night sky, and the artificially carved golden moon can accurately display the phases of the moon. Look, there's also a perpetual calendar at the top, from left to right, displaying the week, month, and date. The fan-shaped subdial in the center of the dial shows the astronomical time difference, which is the difference between the real solar time and the time shown on the clock. What's more amazing is that there's an extremely accurate astronomical chart, and you can clearly see the arrangement of the constellations in the Northern Hemisphere. Everyone was amazed. They had seen many watches, but a watch that could observe the stars and display the phases of the moon was really rare. After listening to Wang Haitao's explanation, everyone began to praise Li Jianhe and Shin Yaxin. They were really envious of the lovebirds, not the fairies. Lin Ruoxi looked at the exquisite watch and couldn't help but think of the old-fashioned pocket watch Yang Cheng gave her. She couldn't help but turn her head to look at him. Yang Cheng saw the trace of resentment in Lin Ruoxi's eyes, and his scalp went numb. How could he not know that the woman was blaming him for not giving her something good, even though he had the money? That's too unfair. That's a good product from the hands of the director of the FBI. Gritting his teeth, Yang Cheng didn't want to hold it in any longer. He opened his mouth and said to the crowd, seeing how lively everyone is discussing watches, my wife and I will join in as well. Everyone immediately quieted down, as if they had heard wrongly. They were talking about a super watch worth more than 3 million pounds, and you're just a gigolo working for your wife. What are you doing here? If it weren't for Lin Ruoxi, there wouldn't even be a place for you here. Shin Yaxin's eyes flashed with a hint of mockery, and she stole a glance at her husband, Li Jianhe, and giggled. Mr. Yang, what do you mean? Do you have any unique insights? Yang Cheng scratched his head and said, I don't have any insights. It's just that I gave my wife a watch 2 days ago. I brought it back from America as a gift, and it just so happened that I'm in a good mood to share my taste with everyone." Hearing this, Lin Ruashi's face paled. How did he know that she had a pocket watch in her bag? Moreover, even though the watch looked a little old, it wasn't like they were comparing who was older. Wouldn't it be embarrassing to take it out? In fact, Yang Chung had already checked Lin Ruashi's bag and confirmed that she had brought it with her, which was why he stood up and said this. Lin Ruashi was 100 times unwilling, but she couldn't stop it. She couldn't argue with Yang Chung here, so she could only secretly glare at Yang Chung and give him a look. "Are you crazy? I'll teach you a lesson when we get back." Yang Chung smiled innocently and didn't say anything. He took the bag from the reluctant Lin Ruashi and took out the pocket watch. Just this simple action was enough to make everyone laugh. It was so casually taken out, and it didn't even have a box to display it. How could it be anything good? When Yang Chun passed the yellow, old-fashioned pocket watch to Wang Haitao, the few of them couldn't help but laugh. "Mr. Yang's pocket watch looks a little old. It's rare these days, haha. It can't be an antique, can it? Then we've made a mistake." Chris and Jennifer were the hosts, but they couldn't say anything. They could only shake their heads and smile bitterly. Li Jianhe and Shen Yaxin were even more amused, as if they had seen the funniest farce in the world. Even looking at the pale Lin Ruashi, they felt pity for her, marrying such an idiot for a husband. But in their hearts, they were filled with a sense of accomplishment. After all, their hatred for Lin Ruashi had not diminished in the past few years. Wang Haitao also politely took the watch to have a look. It was strange enough to have a limited edition of 7 watches. Most people wouldn't have the fortune to see one in their lifetime. If he took another watch, it would be no different from showing off in front of an expert. Lin Ruashi simply closed her eyes, unable to bear to see how embarrassing the scene would be. She hated Yang Chung to the core. He was obviously rich, but he was so stingy when it came to gifts. Wouldn't it be fine if it was done privately, but wouldn't he become a laughingstock in public? While everyone thought it was a joke, Wang Haitao took the watch and glanced at it. However, his smile gradually stiffened. Wang Haitao's hand suddenly trembled. Then, in front of everyone's puzzled eyes, Wang Haitao's expression was so wonderful that he could put on a show. From the beginning, he laughed casually, but gradually his eyes became a little blank, then bright, and finally his mouth opened wider and wider, so wide that an egg could be stuffed inside. "Haitao, what's wrong with you? Why are you in a daze?" His wife, Huang Lele, was puzzled and pushed her husband's shoulder. Wang Haitao suddenly woke up. His action of holding the watch with one hand immediately became a gesture of holding the watch with both hands, as if he was afraid of dropping the watch. But no matter how he sorted out his emotions, his hands were trembling. Everyone finally realized that the situation was not normal. Someone asked aloud, "Haitao, what's wrong with you? Is there a problem with this pocket watch?" "Henrik," Wang Haitao's eyes widened. He couldn't take his eyes off the watch, and he even stuttered when he spoke. "What?" Everyone couldn't hear clearly. Wang Haitao swallowed his saliva and barely managed to speak clearly. This is Henry Graves?" "Henry Graves!" Wang Haitao was so excited that he almost shouted it out. The group was dumbfounded. Why was this guy so surprised? Also, what was Henry Graves? Chapter 791. Li Jianhe, on the other hand, was deep in thought, as if remembering something. Lin Ruashi saw the change in the situation. A thought popped in her mind, and she turned to look at Yang Chung with a strange expression. Yang Chung, on the other hand, had already sat down with a grin on his face, continuing to chew on the pigeon meat. He had almost finished the entire plate. Shen Yaxin furrowed her brows, asking uneasily, "Haitao, Henry Graves, is that the name of this watch?" Wang Haitao took a few deep breaths. His eyes filled with confusion as he looked at the nonchalant Yang Chung. He nodded. "I'm not afraid to laugh at you, but if I hadn't seen the real Henry Graves today, I would have thought that this watch was no longer in this world." Everyone was puzzled. From their point of view, this pocket watch that looked like it was made of brass didn't look like anything special from afar. Wang Haitao looked at the pocket watch in awe, explaining, "I've seen this watch in the files. Henry Graves is a pocket watch with extremely complex functions. Don't be fooled by the fact that it doesn't look very good now. but that's because it's been around for a long time. In fact, the body of the watch is made of 18K gold. This watch was born between 1932 and 1933. It was made by Henry Graves, an American watch collector. He invited a watchmaker from Patek Philippe to make an unparalleled pocket watch. There's only one in the world. What? The crowd gasped in disbelief. Huang Lele covered her mouth, her eyes widening. Then it's almost 100 years old now. Not just her, even Mr. and Mrs. Kreis had their mouths agape. Li Jianhe and Shun Yaxin were speechless, their brains unable to process what was going on. Hi Tao, are you sure you're not mistaken? There's only one watch in the world. Are you sure it's this one? Someone asked doubtfully. Wang Haitao shook his head. I can guarantee that I'm not mistaken. The oxidation level of this watch matches the age of Henry Graves, and there's no trace of it being an imitation. The crowd no longer doubted him. The Wang family was a well-known collector family, and Wang Haitao was an outstanding talent of the younger generation. Of course, he wouldn't make up nonsense and ruin their reputation. In Lin Ruoshi's mind, the words that Yang Cheng had said that night when he gave her the watch kept replaying in her mind. This is a really good watch. I snatched it from the hands of that old man from the FBI. No matter how calm Lin Ruoshi was, she was still a little flustered. What did this man with a greasy mouth do in America? Wang Haitao had already calmed down. He continued to nod and said, not bad. Although this watch has been around for nearly 100 years, the craftsmanship far exceeds that era. It can be said to be unprecedentedly exquisite. It was hard to imagine that there were more than 900 parts inside, all of which were handmade. Moreover, this watch had reached 24 uses at that time. It was an outstanding multifunction watch. Even now, it was very difficult for a watch to surpass this number of functions. As far as I know, from a moment this watch was born to around 2100, in other words, in another 100 years or so, it won't have a deviation of even half a second. No way. Is it very expensive? Someone quickly asked what everyone was thinking. Wang Haitao smiled bitterly. Actually, it can no longer be described as expensive. More than 10 years ago, the last transaction was at Sotheby's. At that time, Henry Graves was sold for 11 million US dollars. Until now, if calculated according to the exchange rate, it is still the most expensive watch in the history of the world. There is no other. 11 million US dollars. The most expensive watch in history. Was it this ugly metal lump in front of them? The scene instantly fell silent. Everyone stared at the Henry Graves in Wang Haitao's hand, unable to say a word. If the previous Vacheron Constantin Tourdelisle was already the king of watches, then Henry Graves was undoubtedly the king of watches. From the moment it was born, relying on pure mechanical parts, it could not miss even half a second in the long 200 years. Wang Haitao sighed. If it were sold now, it would definitely far exceed the transaction price at that time. In fact, the value of this watch can't be measured by money at all. If you ask me, in the eyes of those who really understand watches, it is simply a priceless treasure. It bears the most glorious history of human mechanical watches. To be able to take a look at it is already a blessing. Today has really broadened my horizons. As he spoke, Wang Haitao stood up and walked respectfully to Yang Cheng's seat. He returned the watch to Yang Cheng with both hands and said, Mr. Yang, I'm very curious. This watch has been missing for more than 10 years. Where did you find it? Yang Cheng said casually, when I went to the United States, I happened to see a fat man with it. So I found an opportunity to snatch it. Anyway, he doesn't need it anymore, so it's suitable as a gift for my wife. The dead Robert naturally didn't need it. In fact, after he obtained this watch, he had always carried it with him. This was also to show the effect of the most dangerous place is the safest place. No one would have thought that he would carry such a valuable thing with him. And even if someone recognized it, who would be stupid enough to lay hands on the FBA director? It just so happened that Yang Cheng had dabbled in all kinds of cutting-edge luxury goods in the world. Coupled with his photographic memory, he recognized the origin of this watch when he was searching. He thought of bringing it back to China to give it to Lin Ruoshi as a gift. It was a pity that he didn't have a chance to explain the origin of the watch to Lin Ruoshi because of the incident with Mo Qianni. Lin Ruoshi almost thought that he was simply using a piece of junk to fool her. It really drove Yang Chung crazy. Yang Chung didn't hesitate and returned Henry Graves to Lin Ruoshi again. Lin Ruoshi's expression was a little dazed. This time, when she took the watch, she felt that it was extremely heavy. Yang Chung smiled warmly. To me, Ruoshi is the most precious thing in the world. So, only a priceless treasure is the most suitable gift for my beloved wife. Of course, his words were for everyone to hear. Everyone was stunned, and Lin Ruoshi's cheeks flushed an intoxicating shade of red. Previously, she was still angry at him for giving a diamond ring to Mo Qianni, but giving her a broken watch. Now, it seemed that she had wronged him. He said that he had to keep this watch for her. So, he wasn't just spouting nonsense. Everyone looked at the pocket watch that seemed to carry the essence of a century lying quietly in Lin Ruoshi's palm. All sorts of feelings welled up in their hearts. Li Jianhe and Shun Yaxin's faces darkened. They never expected that the show that was supposed to embarrass Lin Ruoshi would turn into a show of affection and wealth between Yang Chung and Lin Ruoshi. Vacheron Constantine worth £3 million. Although it was shocking compared to Henry Graves, the legendary king of watches, it paled in comparison. No one dared to underestimate Yang Chung anymore. They couldn't help but speculate in their hearts. Did this guy have another identity? Was he working as Lin Ruoshi's subordinate at Yulei International just for fun? There were also a few who asked Lin Ruoshi longingly if they could borrow it to take a look. Lin Ruoshi gave Yang Chung a questioning look. Yang Chung didn't mind. It was a gift to a woman. Even if it was thrown into the gutter, it didn't matter. Lin Ruoshi generously passed the Henry Graves to a few of her classmates. They passed it around and admired it. After taking a closer look, everyone realized that the legendary watch with 24 functions was indeed worthy of its reputation. When they thought about how it was made nearly 100 years ago, it wasn't an exaggeration to say that it was incredible. In an instant, everyone was praising Lin Ruoshi for marrying a good husband. A priceless treasure like this would be a family heirloom, even in a wealthy family. Yet, Yang Chung gave it to her so casually. Everyone was envious. The people present weren't stupid. If a man could get his hands on something like this and give it to his wife so casually, they wouldn't believe that he didn't have another identity. Hence, all sorts of flattery were heard. Hence, the wind vane at the banquet changed from fawning on Li Jianhe and his wife to fawning on Yang Chung and Lin Ruoshi. Lin Ruoshi hadn't expected such a turn of events. But these fence-sitters couldn't really move her. She was just putting on a show. Xin Yaxin's eyes looked like they were about to spit fire. She'd been suppressed by Lin Ruoshi since she was a student. Even though she'd married Li Jianhe, she hadn't been able to fight back. She thought that Lin Ruoshi's life wouldn't be as luxurious as hers after marrying a subordinate. She'd wanted to use this opportunity to humiliate her. Who knew that it would become a springboard for Lin Ruoshi and her husband? At this moment, the door to the private room opened, and a well-dressed, middle-aged man walked in with a young man who looked similar to him. He smiled and said to everyone, "I'm really sorry to disturb your meal, right?" Seeing this man, Li Jianhe's eyes lit up with joy. He seemed to have found a chance to turn the tables. He quickly stood up and said, "Of course not. I've been waiting for you for a long time." Chris turned around and laughed heartily when he saw who it was. "I thought it was an old friend. So it's Mr. Yuan." It was the father and son, Yuan Hui and Yuan Yi, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. Yuan Hui was as cultured and elegant as ever. He raised his goblet of red wine and toasted Chris enthusiastically from afar. At the same time, he scanned the table imperceptibly. His gaze landed on Yang Chung and Lin Ruoshi, who were looking up at him. He smiled warmly. Obviously, he guessed that the two of them would be here.